Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to be here with Yvan Tamba today, a brand new cloud architect. And we're going to talk about his story and what a wonderful, wonderful, fine young man he is and an inspiration to us all. But before we talk about that, I want to let you know some really exciting news. The team at Cloud Architects is so concerned about your ability to get your first cloud architect job that we want to give you any type and as much of cloud computing career training as we can. And my team has been working really hard. 40 of us have gotten together to put together the next AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional ebook. And if you've never worked in tech before, it's the great place to start, and it will take you all the way through beginner of your journey through your cloud practitioner, certified solution architect, associate, and professional, all in a single book. And guess what? It's completely free. My team has built it for you, the cloud architect community, the cloud computing community, because we want you to know how to get your first cloud architect job. So this is going to be free cloud architect training from the Go Cloud Careers organization for you. My team has done it. You're going to meet all the 40 people. They're going to announce their names coming up soon. They're all amazing cloud architects. Cloud architect job training includes writing, it includes presenting, it includes designing, it includes everything. So we're going to show you how to write in this book, and it's going to be written like a cloud architect in that executive summary format, so you learn how to write as well for a cloud architect, because that's a critical cloud architect job skill. Today, we're going to have a very special discussion. People know me because I make videos on how to get your first cloud architect job, and I love it. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is I didn't study tech. I studied medicine. In fact, I worked in internal medicine for a while, loved it. But I like tech more. And when I woke up one day and I wanted to be a network engineer, I went and did what everybody did. I went and got a whole bunch of certifications. I got an MCSC certification, a CCNA certification, a CCNP certification, a CCDA certification, a CCNP certification. And then I went and applied for jobs, and the employers were like, yeah, so who cares? And that was with 3 professional certifications. And I did something that was very different. I asked 50 recruiters from all over the country, what is the perfect network engineer that you desire? They told me, and I became that, and I was hired instantly. And not only was I hired instantly, I went from practicing medicine to be the lead architect on my team at the world's largest internet service provider in 6 months. And the reason I'm saying this is any of you that want to be cloud architects, enterprise architects, solutions architects, network architects, cloud engineers, go do it. You can do it. I've done it, others. And we're going to introduce you to Yvan in a minute. People call me every day and they say, Mike, can I be a cloud architect? And I say, tell me about yourself. And they want to tell me that they've been programming for 10 years and all this other tech and all this tech. And they say, does that make me a good cloud architect? And I say, I have 3 questions for you. How hard are you willing to work? And they say, what? I say, how hard are you willing to work? The next thing that I say is, are you willing to change your thinking? Because you've come from engineering, you've got to be focused on one thing, but in architecture, it's got to be big picture. Are you willing to take a more business approach, a more leadership approach, learn to write, learn to present, learn to do ROI modeling, and those kind of things? And if they say, I don't want to do that, that's not tech, I say, well, that's what we architects do. So, in something like that, it's up to you. Anybody that wants to become an architect can become an cloud architect. And that's why I brought Yvan Tamba here. Yvan is what I consider the world's best success story. He is a hardworking, motivated, exceptionally good person. He's so hardworking that he graduated high school at 15 years old back in Cameroon. And then he spent 3 years or so trying to figure out how to get to the US. And he worked hard for that. And that's not easy. I have a tremendous amount of friends that have come here. My family is immigrants, and I know how hard it is to come here legally, and he did it. Then he got to the US, and of course, you come to the US, you're not rich. So he went to community college for a couple of years. He worked serving food, which is a hard job. I did it when I was college, in addition to being a paramedic while I was in college. He then commuted 90 minutes back and forth to school each day, and then took my 500-hour cloud architect career development program. And within 4 months, is now working for AWS. And it's not like AWS just hired him from an entry-level job. They hired him as a solution architect. And they liked him so much, just so much, that when they hired him, they said, we'd like you to start now, but we understand you're graduating in a few months, and we'll wait for you. So this is why I want to meet Yvan Tamba. 24 years old, never worked in tech before, and one of the best cloud computing companies in the world is willing to wait 5 months for him. Now, that's not because of his technical knowledge. He's got technical knowledge, but it's because of his attitude, his energy, his enthusiasm, his integrity, his passion, his business knowledge, his business acumen. That's why. That's why he's so good. That's why they waited 5 months for him, because they're lucky to get someone of Yvon's caliber. They're lucky. You can go and search thousands of people, but to find one Yvan is really hard. And I want you all to know that all of you can do exactly what Yvan did. If you desire, you can be cloud architect, an enterprise architect, or any kind of architect you want, or any career you want. Romanek did it. I did it. I worked 3 jobs when I went to college. I worked 80 hours a week when I went to college full time. You know what? It wasn't fun, but I did it. I've got students doing it all the time, full-time jobs, you name it, they're doing it. And Yvan is one of those amazing, amazing people. So Yvan, can you introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much, Mike, for this wonderful presentation. First, it's an honor for me to be here today to share this platform with you. I remember, like during the summer, when I was watching all your video to prepare for the different exam, and then now here today sharing this platform with you. So it's very a pleasure. And also hi to everybody who's watching right now. So my name is Yvan Tamba. Um, I live in Atlanta, in the city, United States. Uh, to give a little bit to give a little bit like detail about my background, I was born in Cameroon. It's a beautiful country in South Africa, in Central Africa. I was the fifth, the fourth of a family of five. Um, I graduated from high school, just like might say, at the age of 15 in 2012. I spent 3 years back home, and then at 18, I was able to get to the United States. I started at a community college, but after my first semester, I lost my sponsor, and I was out of college for 1 semester. But I got a chance to meet some amazing people in my church, and a very amazing couple who decided to support me. And that's how, with the support of the community and those people, especially, and with my input, because I was also working on the side to get some money, I was able to go back to school in summer 2016 at that community college where I spent 2 years. After that, I transferred to Georgia Tech to pursue my education, college education in computer engineering. Uh, while at Georgia Tech, I was mostly focused on hardware, right? Hardware programming, microcontroller, and other stuff. I was aware about the cloud, but I was never interested about it until July 2020 when someone introduced me to the cloud. At the time, AWS was giving those free 8 hours training for cloud practitioner, and the person told me to go take this hour, that I would learn about cloud computing. So I decided to take the training, and I was amazed by all the trainers, especially the job title, because some of them were like, I'm a solution architect. I worked for AWS for 15 years, and I was like, wow, solution architect, what is that? For me, it sounded so fun, right? So special, and they seemed so smart. I was like, I wish one day I can become a solution architect, because but for me, I didn't see it as something that I could achieve, because they were talking about having the 12-year career, 15 years. I worked there for 12 years, and then I moved to AWS. I was like, wow, yeah, that's too much for me. So, but in January of this year, I decided to learn more about cloud computing. And since I already did a little bit about AWS during the summer 2020, I took on January the 5th my first cloud certification, was Microsoft Azure Fundamental. I took it on my birthday. It was like a gift to myself, and I got it. And during the summer, I was like, I'm gonna go more deep into the cloud. So during the summer 2021, this year, I took the the AWS Associate and Professional exam, and that's when I came across Cookout Architect through watching through YouTube, and I started watching all Mike's video and how he was. I mean, what struck me about Mike was the fact that he was very knowledgeable about the technology, but also the simplicity, that he has. I mean, and I was like, wow, I wish I could, I can have the same thing to be able to explain stuff so simple. That's how, after getting certified, I decided to join the Go Cloud Architect program to deepen my knowledge of cloud computing. and I started a program. I think it was a little bit early September, and through the program, I learned a lot about social skill, emotional intelligence, about how to present, also a lot about networking, data center. That's some stuff that I didn't have a chance to learn on all those certification. And with my hard work and the outstanding content of this program, I was able to land a job at AWS as a solution architect. That's a
You
little
know,
bit about me.
Yvonne, you said a couple of things there that are pretty interesting. We did provide the training that I hope was excellent, but you did the work. And when people say, if I come and do the class, will I get hired? And I say, that's on you. And I say, I provide the training. I try to motivate you. I provide a family of 500 people that work together and interact in so many ways of the best people I know. I said, but I can't make you do the work. I can't make you show up in class. I said, my students that do, they get hired all the time. Yeah, Yvan Tamba is the perfect example. 3 people actually got hired in that same week. But the point is it's just he did the work. And that's really the case. But he mentioned a couple of things. A family sponsored him to go to school. So you don't just sponsor anybody. You sponsor someone that you know, someone that you look at and say, wow, this person's got something in them. They're good. They have a heart. They've got integrity. And if we just give this person a chance, they'll go far places. And look what they did. They gave him a chance, but he did the work. They helped give him the guidance. They helped give him support, but he still did the work. He took advantage of it. So Yvan was somebody special just for that family to even consider helping him. Think about that. So, how we treat others, how we live our lives affects everything, but something else. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Seriously, don't be afraid to ask for help. You'd be surprised if you just ask. People will say yes. You'd be amazed how many people will help you if you just ask. So if you have to ask someone for help, get some help. You'd be surprised. I'd be surprised what I've asked people for lots of things. Lots of people have asked me for lots of things, and I do what I can. You can't always help, but you try. So, those 2 characteristics are really, really important. It's the integrity. Now, you mentioned, you were already AWS certified solution architect professional, but, did that teach you architecture, or was that more of, the the name of the vendor's equipment and what it does and how to use it? But, you need to step back and look at something else to really think about how to design it.
That's a good question, Mike. I mean, when I took the certification, I think it was mostly about the services, and even after I was professionally certified as a solution architect, I couldn't myself really understand how to design architecture from endpoint to another endpoint, right? So, and I thought I was too zoom in, because I think what the training on certification does is that you zoom in, you only know about the services, you only know about the different services, you only know about AWS per se, right? But you don't know about the technology itself. So joining the Growth Architect program, uh, that program allowed me to zoom out, right, and to really have the big picture, right? For example, how to connect different services, and how, for example, talking about BGP, the only thing that I learned about BGP in the training for certification was that when you use a direct connection, then you need BGP. But I never knew that BGP is just like GPS, right? But it's a dynamic routing protocol. That's something they don't teach you that or in all the certification. And that's something that you told me, or the program taught me. So that's the difference between getting certified and really having the knowledge about the job.
And for me, it was the same thing. I became a CCNP, and I was okay. I've got really strong, and it was to get to the CCNP. I mean, that's a substantial certification. So the CCNA is 2,000 pages of reading. We'll compare that to the Certified Solution Architect Professional is 500. The CCNP is about 5,000 pages of reading in addition to those 2,000 pages. So that's a lot. But you know what? It wasn't enough for the employers. And the reason it wasn't enough for the employers, it was vendor specific. Now, I love the Cisco training. I love the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional training and the Azure Expert training and the Google Professional Cloud Architect training. It's really great for the cloud engineer because it teaches them exactly what the service is and how to build it. But Yvan's a system designer. He's an architect. He's my peer. I'm a systems designer. And I need to know what those services are, but I need to know what all that other stuff is. That's the missing piece for me is, what is the stuff in the network in the data center, because that's all the stuff we're moving to the cloud. And if you don't know what the stuff is in the network in the data center, how do you move it? And that's, for me, the challenge. So, there's differences between implementation engineers, there's architecture, and actual engineering, and maintenance as well, because these are all great careers. And, when Yvonne's here, Yvonne chose architecture. I chose architecture too. I love it. But you could be there's a difference between a cloud architect versus a cloud engineer. Both great jobs. There's other positions in cloud computing like DevOps, which is another great job. Not if you're an architect, but it's another wonderful career. So you've got options to do anything you really desire, but you just have to want to do it. So tell me what I've seen you present recently, and I was kind of impressed. In fact, I've seen you present in front of 90 people, most of which had multiple master's degrees and 20 years of professional experience, and they were all impressed too. So talk about that. Talk about learning to present. Talk about learning how to speak with gravitas and power.
Okay.
It means
Thank
so
you.
much.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, before I joined the program, I think I've never pretty much had a chance to. I think I've done some presentation, but most of them were kind of related to engineering because I'm a computer engineering guy before. Now I'm a solution architect. But so it was very technical per se. It was very, very technical. But I think through the program, I learned how to be more executive. And I remember how you teach us. You have to be more executive. You need to take this to fill in the space, right? You need to present like the room belongs to you, like you're the head of the ceremony. So I think that's something that I've learned through the program, and also how to speak and pause, because every time you speak, you take a pause that allow you to recollect your thought and before saying something else. That way you don't run over your own word, and that allow you to kind of have a I mean have really put in there everything that you want to say, right, to the audience. So that's something that I learned through the program, how to have the executive presence, and also how to the different type of presentation, right? Because as a solution architect, I'm gonna have to present on both from the executive or the and engineer, because I'm the middleman between both, right, the engineer and the business people. So I need to adjust my presentation skill depending on my audience. So that's something that also I've learned through the program. I'm really thankful that you told me that, because that's something that I wasn't aware, and that's something that you don't learn when you take all the certification, right? It's only about services, while the program is about being a solution architect, which is a big difference.
Yeah, and I think that's really you're highlighting the difference between engineering and architecture. And they're both really great. So what architecture is for most people, because they don't know. And the reason people don't know is we used to have a very clear definition. And then what happened is all these vendors came up with certifications called architect for engineering work. So we architects really start out at the CEO. Just like a management consulting, you've got to go walk into that CEO and ask them about their business. And you can't ask somebody about their business if you don't speak business. Now, you also, if you're going to advise that CEO on their business or the technology on their business, you have to seem like a CEO, because you're their peer. Because if you don't know a lot, how do you advise the CEO of $1 trillion company or $100 billion company, for example, how to improve their business? So you've got to have that executive presence, which he's talking about. And that's what happens, when you make a point and pause. I'll give you all an example, because this training, it's so important to learn that executive presence. BGP is a path vector routing protocol that's used to exchange inter-domain routing. Or BGP is a path vector routing protocol that's used for inter-domain routing. It's the same content. The second one has something called executive presence. And when I walk into the room of the CEO with executive presence, and of course I'm wearing a suit, and of course I've got everything, tidied up and straightened up, I've got things I'm handing out, I'm one of them. Same way Yvan is. Now he's young, so he had to work harder. See, if he was 40, it would be like, oh yeah, he's got lots of experience, he's got some gray hairs, he must know in life. But he's not, so he has to be twice as good. So for him, the ability to walk in, command that room, have that power, that gravitas, je ne sais quoi, whichever you want to call. If it's French, they'd call it je ne sais quoi. But I know we've got a lot of French-speaking people in our audience, but that's what we're really talking about. It's having that power, it's having that oomph. And he also mentioned relevancy. He used a different term, but he meant relevancy. And here's the reason. If I get in front of the CEO that's concerned about increasing shareholder value, increasing revenues, increasing productivity, decreasing expenses, increasing profitability, et cetera, new routes to revenue, business continuity planning, that's what they're concerned about. And if I start talking about OSPF LSAs or the weight of a BGP, of a route coming in on via BGP, they're going to look at me like I have four heads. But likewise, if I talk about weighted average cost of capital to the engineering team that's building it, they might not be interested. So as architects, we need to be really agile because that's our world. Now, if we were engineers, our focus is hands-on technical. Somebody gives us, as engineers, build this, Mike. And we're like, okay. Now, as engineers, we're the smart people that have to figure out how to make it work. Because just because somebody gave you a picture that says build this, doesn't mean it's going to work. You have to figure out, and those engineers are really deep technical. So without getting into any specifics, I would never ask you to do that. It wouldn't be right. When you interviewed for these positions, was it very technical or very businessy? Just answer it that way.
The interview wasn't. I think I would say it's 75% business and mostly business and social skills like behavioral, and 25% will be of technical. Um, because even on the phone interview, because it's like usually AWS are three. The interview is like three. It's like three round. If I can say, you have the skill assessment test, the phone interview, and then you have the final one, which is it could be virtual or it could be on site. And because even in the phone interview is you have some technical question, or you also have two or three to four behavioral questions. And the final one, the loop, is four interview, and three of them are only behavioral, and one is technical. So it's really focused on your social skill, that executive, that communication. Because one of the things that I remember is even during an interview, one person told me that you don't have to answer all those technical questions, right? It's just to see your technical breadth, right? But what it was more important is to see how you act, how you sell yourself, the brand. And one thing that you just say about you have to go when you're talking about the fact that you have to go in with a suit when you present to executive. In the when you apply for a job at AWS for the station architect role, they have this culture that they're going to tell you that you know what you can come to the interview dressed casually, right? We don't mind how you dress. The most important is what you have for us, right? But when I went there, I was like, no, I'm not gonna dress casual, right? Because as a solution architect, if I go see a CEO, I have to dress. I have to because when I go there to see a CEO, I am going as an AWS solution architect. So I have the brand. I'm the face of AWS. So I dress up. I mean, I overdress. And then they were all surprised. It was like, wow, you have a suit. Let me hold on. Let me go grab my suit as well. They were all surprised to see me in a suit, right? And that's important about it is that you have to sell yourself and to sell yourself very high, and you have to have a beautiful brand, and that's very important if you want to get a job as a solution architect, even inside the job, like to be set apart from all the solution architect or from other candidates.
So what Yvan just said there is so critical. Everybody's going to say just be casual, but I want you to really think about it. And I'm going to give you the statistics. If Yvan shows up in a suit, first, it shows he has one. Secondly, it shows he knows how to wear one and he's comfortable in it. 3, it shows that he went way above and beyond to really stand out. And 4 is the statistics. Here's the statistics, everyone. These statistics are from Harvard, not me. When you communication as a whole, 55% of all the messaging and communication is what you look like when you say something. Now, 38% of the communication is what you sound like when you say something. And 7% is the actual words. So that means 93% of communication is nonverbal. And if 55% of it is what you look like, and you put on a good suit, you just boosted the percentage. So now think about this on an interview. For some reason, people think the interview is all about how techie I am. It's not. About 50% of the interview is related to tech skills, maybe a little less, but let's say 50% because we like our tech stuff. The other 50% is the rest. Your emotional intelligence, your gravitas, your likability. Do they look like you're willing to go above and beyond? Now, everybody, look at Yvan right now. Does he look like he's lazy? Like he needs a nap? No, he's excited to be here. Just look at his smile. Look at the server right next to him. He's got a server next to him. He has access to my server. He's building his own clouds on his servers because at Go Cloud Architect, we make all our students build clouds. So we make them build data centers, and he's got that over there right now. So you can see the charm, you can see the charisma, you can see the communication skills. And even though he's 24, when he communicates, notice his hands move, he takes up space, he makes a pause. He feels like he's got the experience of 35. So, it's that. So, I think it's reasonable to say, as part of getting hired as a solution architect, you're going to have to give a presentation somewhere. In most cases, did you have to give a presentation? Don't talk about the contents because we want to keep it fair. But you get how to give a presentation, right?
Yeah. I think usually the setup for the role is that you have to give a presentation. But I didn't give a presentation, but that was because I have a blog, and that's something that you inspire me to do, right? When I joined the program, I mean, I wasn't very confident about my writing when I joined the program. It was like you have to write about this, you have to write about this, about this tech. So I have a blog, and in my blog, I have some posts about architecture where I took some what we did in class, and then I represented it in my blog as a post about designing a complex networking architecture. And based on my understanding from my phone interview, I didn't have to do presentation on the final loop, because when they look at my blog and everything listed there, they knew that having me do a presentation was useless, because my presentation, my architecture design skills was already listed on my blog. That's why they went on something else. I think you have to do presentation, but it might differ how strong you come in and how strong you look. So they might try to see where are your weakness, right? They won't focus more on your strength, and they're going to focus on your weakness to see how they can build a very strong, something like that. That's why I didn't have to do a presentation.
Yeah, so that's the other secret factor that I like to tell people about. Most people, they work on their tech. I'm going to get 15 million XAWS certified, but that's just the tech. And not only is it just the tech, if it's the wrong tech, it makes your career look unfocused. They were looking for the big picture. So I've interviewed for 5 companies in my life, and I'm going to tell you, except for 2 of them, I was interviewed on the spot. Now, these were companies that would do 15 or 20 interviews. There was something about me they liked, because I studied interviews forever, that they hired me. But the same thing with Yvan. If you look at the job description that he applied for, years of experience doing this, years of experience doing this, 20 years as a software engineer, 20 years as a network engineer, 20 years as a security engineer, 14 Olympic gold medals. They were willing to look past it because he's Yvan. That's special. It's those intangible qualities. He wrote a blog. He built the Cloud Architect brand. He talked about design in his blog. It showed the world he's out there. He showed the world he's capable. If you put something on Git, for a software engineer, that's great. For an architect, it's not good. But we architects design. That's our world. We design. We solve organizations' business problems with design. So if you know design and you're posting things on design or collaborating with somebody else to do it with you, you're showing you can do the job. He proved to the world he's an architect by doing it. It's the same reason my students build clouds. Architects don't configure anything. We just design. We don't configure anything. The last time I configured anything was the day I became an architect. Before that, I was an engineer. I was on the command line constantly. I became an architect, and it's like, okay, my command line got replaced with an American Express, so I could take clients out and entertain them for lunches and dinners and speak in 5,000 person conferences. And that's what you do as architects. You present at big global conferences. You talk to CEOs. You design things. You present. You do RFIs, RFPs, RFQs. We still have to have the tech, though. So the key is just you hit a balance. I love that you did that blog. I encourage all my students to build a blog. I encourage all my students to do this. I also tell my students, and it's all free advice for all of you, have nothing on your social media profiles that pertains to money, politics, or religion. And here's the reason why. Every one of us is so similar. Yvan Tamba, who was born in Cameroon, and me, who was born in Philadelphia, are genetically 99.9% identical. You heard me. 99.9% our DNA is identical. And we grew up thousands of miles apart. And when we focus on that, look at the amazing things we can do. Now, everybody loves us. We've got 7 billion people that could hire us. The second he were to post something on politics, that's going to divide the pie in 50%. He's lost 50% of those 7 billion people for potential hiring. Now, if Yvan posted something negative about a political group, even not his own, you know what? Me, the hiring manager, now says this person can't get along with 50% of the population that's different from him, which again makes him unhireable. So, don't post about political things in your social media page. If you have them, just remove them. If you're talking about money, unless you're in the finance industry, money divides people too. Don't even bother with it. And religion's a very private thing for people. It's a wonderful thing if people have it. If not, it's not our world to judge. But if we don't talk about that, there's nothing left to divide us. We're now 99.9% the same, which means we've got access to all those 7 billion people and those 7 billion jobs. So I'd say try to work as hard as possible to focus on that part of it, as opposed to any kind of political thing or anything that could be divisive. Keep it to yourself. I'm not saying don't have an opinion. It's just, we're architects. We're here to shape people's businesses. How do you shape people's businesses? You're positive. You look at the future. You look for how you can solve problems. So, there's a thought of that. So, because we're all over the place here. And for architects, let me tell you something else about an architect's strength. And then we'll get back to Yvan. Our strength is our ability to reach out to the Yvans of the world. So here's the thing. I've been an architect now for 25 years. I won't run into that many Yvans because he's really special, but I know a lot of good architects. And over time, what Yvan will happen, Yvan's business skills are going to get better and better because I know Yvan. And as his business skills get better, he's a chief technology officer someday soon, sooner rather than later. I already see it for Yvan. I saw it the first day he came into my class. The first day he entered my class, he was wearing a red sweater. It had Georgia Tech on it. And he was smiling and he's waving. Hi, it's Michael. It's my first class. I'm so happy to be here. I saw that and it blew me away. So he's your CTO 10 years from now, easy or maybe less. So, I see all that coming. So the business piece becomes really important. And as your career goes up, if you want it to go up, don't get more certifications. Increase your business acumen, your leadership skills, your presentation skills. So talk about how learning those impacted you and how much of a difference do you feel it made on your ability to get hired or not?
I think the learning the business skill and all the social skills, I think that did play a very significant impact on me getting higher, even on me as in growing as a as a person. Because I was before I think before that I was very technical. I have the ability to I was very focused in the tech, but not so much in the business side. And we all know that regardless of how many technical people you have in your company, at the end of the day, what brings more the time money is the business side of it, right? Because you can build something, but if you don't have the ability to sell the product that you're building, nobody gonna buy it. So I understand that also when I joined the program, that's the ability to sell something, right? And ability to design a solution and be able to sell it. And so me focusing on that, there's a book that Praveen, I think Praveen, one of posted about emotional intelligence, the ability to tune into other people's emotion and to manage that. And I remember one day my sister came by and uh, she was like in a Zoom call, right? And there was one guy, they were having a meeting, but the guy was able to manage other people's emotion. It was a group of developers, but he was able to. He wasn't very technical. He was always putting small jokes to make people feel good, and everybody felt. Felt good around him. And I understand. I quickly understood that if I want to go very high in time of reach success, I have to still work on my technical, but be more focused on those social skills, the ability to be the center of a group, to bring people together, just like you did, right? You create this amazing community where you have people from different backgrounds. You have people from network, people from database, people from security, even people from even people without background, right? People who just never have a degree, right? You create a community, that environment where everybody coming from different part of the world and from different background feel valuable, respected, and welcome, right? And that's something that you already show me that's the way to do, right? That's the way if you want to be able to become successful, not only as a solution architect, but also as a human being, right? So learning those were very important to me, and I think that's a play a very huge impact in me getting this job, and probably gonna have a huge impact in my career.
I had a couple goals when I built this company. One of them was to be able to create a program that would normally cost 50 times more, but charge a price that anybody could afford, but give something that was worth 50 times more. And then with the number of students that are getting hired, I know we did it. Two was I was espresso brand architect in my career. And the reason is, I started my career, I was one of the most technical people out there. I was one of the world's leaders on multicast and BGP for years. I traveled the world lecturing at every major conference. And I realized in my career there was a position open for a director of systems engineers, and I said to my manager, "I'd like to apply for this position." My manager says, "I'm sorry, Michael." And I said, "Why?" He said, "You don't understand. 20% of the organization's revenue is because of you in your architecture or your engineering work." And he said, if you lose that and become a manager, we lose 20% of the revenue. We're out of business. And he said, so because you've been too good of an engineer, I can't make you rise. You can't be promoted. And I said, wait, I've worked so hard. I put in 17 hours a day, 7 days a week, building this company, doing the best I can. And because I've done so well, I can't get promoted. My manager said, yes. I said, are you sure you're telling me my success is keeping me from becoming successful? And he said, yes. I then called a friend of mine who was an executive coach, and she said, I told you not to focus only on the tech. You're going to pigeonhole yourself. So she said, here's what I recommend you do. She said, leave that company tomorrow, join a new company. Instead of dressing like the average systems engineer, wear a suit every day, finish that darn MBA of yours, learn all these things. And she said, Mike, the $150,000 engineer, that'll be a $300,000 architect in a year. And you know what? It was all that business leadership. And that was the change for me. And I wanted you to know that. And you know why I became even more successful? Because I built teams of the best and brightest people in the world and built a network. The expression, your network is your net worth. And I wanted to create an environment for you guys. And that's why I used to interview everybody in the beginning and make sure that we had people that would really fit in. And I had people from all over the world, from every part and all corners of the world. I wanted to put in the best and the brightest so you guys could build your own network. And I could teach you how to share and leverage that network. So when one of my amazing students, Ivo Doika, who's over in Europe, is doing something, and you're over in the US, for example, and my wonderful student Leo's in Brazil, and another student of mine is in Nigeria, you're all working together at the same time, and you're never lost. So that way you don't have to focus on learning every piece of tech thing. You can focus on the leadership skills, the soft skills, the emotional intelligence, and all those amazing things. That's why I was trying to do it. So I'm glad you noticed that, because that was one of my goals.
No, you did it. I think the community is fantastic. I've learned so much from the community. Especially, I think having coming into the program without that much experience. I'm still in college, right? But having the I think I'll even see the blessing, to be around people who have like 15 to 20 years of experience in database, in security, in networking. And then when we come down to design that solution, they're gonna start talking about, okay, this is how the security has to be, right? This is why we use this. This is why we don't use this, right? It's completely different from what you learn on certification, because sometimes they're only gonna tell you when to use it. Maybe why you don't have to use this in this case, like the particularity of each services regarding to the use case, right? So that's something I was able to learn from the community, but also ability to have all those people cheering up for you, right? I remember
Yeah.
the first time I came in, and I have to present. I have to do that executive presentation after design the architecture. I wasn't able to do great, right? But people were like, no, you're doing good, right? Keep going, keep going. You're doing great. It will come. You started very good. Keep learning, and that's something that kind of motivate me as well. And I'll see that not only with myself, but with also all every other people, right? When they come in, they're not really good, and then they start learning and learning and learning, and they have the support of entire community. I think it makes you feel stronger, and you feel like you're really on your journey, and you have people alongside with you.
And I love that. And you've been a big part of this community. And I don't talk about a lot of the work we do unless we're with, our friends. Like I do a lot of work with the Work Fund Group and Samoa Shang. But, Yvonne's even now tutoring people in Cameroon because, at Go Cloud Architects, we do a lot of work in developing nations, India, Africa, and places with amazing, amazing people. And 48 of my students are now volunteering in Cameroon. So I'm sure my students will volunteer somewhere else at some point in the future. But right now, he's part of there, and he's out there, and he's making an impact. So the more of that stuff he does, the more people will know him, the bigger his reputation will go. In tech, I got to tell you, your certifications will get you so far, like a job interview, but your name and your reputation is everything. The reason I told you Yvan Tamba is your future CTO is, one, his integrity is exceptional. His attitude is exceptional. He already speaks in an executive way, and he's only 24. And by the time he's 26, I can't even imagine, because I've trained people like Yvan in the past. I've had a couple of successful super young prodigies like that, and I know where they go. But two is the network that he builds. He doesn't even realize it. He just treats everybody so well. He's still in school. He commutes 3 hours a day to school. He's still doing whatever he needs to support himself. And now he's even willing to help in Cameroon students, pass their cloud practitioner test using some of our materials and doing some on-site tutoring. So that integrity, that name, it works for you. So the advice I'm going to give him now, which is the same for you, always use integrity in everything you do. No matter what the commission is, don't design something that's not good for your customer. Make it work, and you will have the world come to you forever. But also, here's an important thing to know. Executives view a tech, and executives pay for the tech. Techies view a tech as different. As a techie, I just happen to have right now, a 48-port switch right next to me. It just happens to be there. Why is it there? Because there's a 64-core server sitting next to me, and a 24-core server sitting next to me, and a RAID array that's sitting next to me, because it's the fun afternoon project that I'm going to work on. But businesses don't think that way. Yvan, why does the business buy technology?
What is business by technology?
Yeah.
I think business by technology because they see the importance of it, of the impact that it can have, right, in several in terms of growth. One of the examples that I can easily take is I work as a server in a restaurant, right? And when I started, we didn't have that much technology regarding the credit card payment, also regarding the different tablet that we're using. And over the time, we have some very amazing bottle of wine and champagne that we're selling, right? But some of us as a server didn't have the ability to really upsell the product, to really describe the product, to create that attraction so that the customer will have the willing to buy that 500 bottle of wine, right? So what the management did, what the company did, or the owner did, is that they went ahead and they bought the small iPad tablet where you have all the wine that we have listed on there, and in those, and listed with description, so that if as a server you don't know how maybe to describe that specific bottle of wine, which is like 200, that can upsell not only for the owner but also for you, because the higher sale you have, the better your tips, right? You can just bring the tablet to the customer will take a look and will read through the manual to see the quality of the wine, where the grape comes from, the region, how it is cultivated, so everything about the wine, and then the customer would be more willing to buy that, to spend that money on that bottle of wine, and that's technology, and that's how you can increase your profit by leveraging technology. So I think technology it's amazing how you can use it, and also how you can the impact that it can have on your business.
Yvan, that's exactly what I wanted you to do. I didn't know how you were going to do it. Businesses buy technology to solve a business problem. So let's look at this, because, when people say, I just want to shave money off, and I say, that's not an architect. So what an architect does is they quantify the problem. So the first thing you do is you take the restaurant, you figure out how many people come into that restaurant, how many people buy wine. Then you quantify, if we could sell that $500 bottle of wine to 3% more people, what does that equate to in terms of bottles of wine per year? And then let's say you find out that equates to an additional $1,000 or 1,000 bottles of wine that year. But let's assume that the $1,000 of bottles of wine, only 50% is profit. So of the $1,000 of wine, we have $250 profit from that wine. So we would take $1,000 times $250 per bottle of wine, and we'd find out that would generate $250,000 of business value. Now, because we know that that generates $250,000 of business value, if the technology costs $300,000, it's probably not a good investment for the business. If that technology costs $20,000, it's an extreme opportunity for the business. They spend $20,000, they get back $250,000. That's a 12x return in 1 year. That's an incredible return on investment capital. So the reason I'm saying this, and the reason I wanted to walk you through the whole thought process, is that's what we architects do. We have to figure out what is the opportunity. Then we have to think about what problem we're trying to solve. Then we have to solve the problem, and we have to prove to the customer that the solution is less expensive than the problem. And that's what we do. So mind you, we as innovators, we start with the business, and then we design the endpoint, and then we work our way back. The technology is, oh, perfect, Alan Hell, is to solve a problem. And where engineers and architects are different. Engineers like the tech so much. Look, I just told you the tech that was right next to my house. There's lots of engineers still in me. But we like the tech and we want the tech. So, people are like, how do you get somebody to move to the cloud? I'm like, is it the right move for them? They're like, cloud's great for everything. I said, I don't know. I didn't run the business analysis. I said, I love the cloud. It probably is. But let's look at the customer. Let's look at their business. Let's look at their traffic patterns. Let's look at where their data is. Let's look at the technology investment they have, their network, data coming in and coming out. And they're like, huh? But that's where we do the business piece from. And that will ultimately determine our end state. What are we trying to do? What are we trying to achieve? So, God, I wish I was 24 years old in your world right now. That's just so exciting for you. So I know there's going to be a lot of people that want to ask you a lot of questions, and I want to give them a chance to do that. So let's do this. If you've got to have some questions, ask some questions for a minute. I'm sure it'll make Yvonne think about some few things too, but we love having you all here. So let's ask some questions and let Yvonne do anything we can to help you, because I want others to know Yvonne did it. You can do it too. Yvonne is fantastic and exceptional, but all of us can be exceptional if we want to. So ask some questions. From Alan Howe. Hi, Yvonne, from Cameroon, CM2 Southwest. I really love that lion in the photo too. Ask some questions if you have some in the chat box. We'd love to hear from you. At some point, we'll ask you where you're from, but not just yet, because we don't want to lose the questions in the chat box. I have a feeling we're all from all over the world, and I love that. Rachel Hal, how do you get in touch with Yvonne from Cameroon? I would think LinkedIn is a great place to start, but Yvonne, why don't you?
Yeah, I think you can. Yeah, you can connect with me through LinkedIn. If you just type Yvan Tamba in the LinkedIn search box, I think you will find my name on it, and then just send me a message from there, and then I will be able to connect with you.
There you go. Well, I mean, instantly people are reaching out from YouTube. I love that he's already in. Honor, integrity, caring about the world. You see why I brought Yvonne on? I have people that get hired every day, but I don't bring them on because it's what we do.
Oh my! Sorry. My blog name is on Hashnote. I think the best way to reach my blog note, I don't have the name here because it's Yvan Cloud, but it's the platform is Hashnote. I think if you reach out to me on LinkedIn, I can provide you the link to my blog, because my name is not fully listed in my blog, because I leverage a platform. So
I'll tell you what, post your blog on LinkedIn, and I will share it to the world so more people can see it, since I have a pretty big following and I want more people to know how great you are. Thank you for, by the way, Perez the Dev. Jim Hu, other than training, what kind of book do you read in order to improve leadership and communication skills? Okay, well, I'll tell you what I like, and then Yvonne things that he has as well. I like any of the work from Goleman on emotional intelligence. Malcolm Gladwell actually usually has some very good content that's out there. Personally, on leadership, I would listen to anything John Chambers has to say. He's one of the best technology executives and leaders I've ever met in my entire life. I had the pleasure of working for him or in his organization for 10 years. Everything he ever said or predicted always seemed to come true. So I would learn a lot about leadership. I would follow John Chambers. I actually subscribe to I've watched and still agree with some of the things, even though a lot of people don't, from the GE Jack Welch management strategy days. Many of us management people were trained there. I would also recommend reading some books from SEALs on leadership. SEALs typically have a great level of teamwork, but they also understand something called situational leadership, which is basically right now, let's say I'm designing an architecture, the global big picture, that's me. But I'm going to have a big data person. Let's say it's my friend Praveen. And if it goes to big data, it's like, Praveen, you're in charge now until the big data is over. And when Praveen's done with big data and I need a security person, I know this guy, Jim, I need your security piece. And I'll just aggregate it together. So in the military world, they're really good at that. So I like some of the work from the SEALs. Truthfully, when it comes to emotional intelligence, the work of Goldman is great. There's another book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, that's quite good. But emotional intelligence is about controlling your emotions as well as somebody else's emotions. See, the first part is managing your own emotions first. So, there's some things that we use. We use some cognitive behavior therapy, but then again, I have extraordinary training in that for my medical world. We use certain types of breathing. We use certain types of meditation exercises, and we use the work from Goldman, and we use the work from others. So, anything on emotional intelligence is really great. There's a book on why business people speak like idiots. Highly, highly good thing on simple communication, especially good for technology professionals that feel they need to string 1,001 buzzwords together. I would say those are some good things. We read constantly, but those are some good leadership books that we like. How about you, Yvan?
Yeah, that's a good question about how to improve the communication skill. One thing that I did, I didn't particularly read a specific book on leadership communication skill per se, but what I did, as you say earlier, talking about Goldman, I watched a lot of video of Goldman on YouTube because I was very interested by the person. So I watched a lot of his video on YouTube, and I mean, you can find a lot of stuff on YouTube about communication skills, but I think what I did that have a significant impact on me learning was practice. And what I was using my phone, I have this thing. I put my phone right there, and I kind of interview myself, and I watch the video. I interview myself, and every time I interview, and I was watching how I sound. Like, do I sound executive enough? Do I sound more technical? I will ask myself a question. For example, why AWS? Like, why did you choose to work for AWS? That's the type of question that I'll ask myself. So you have to practice. I have to practice a lot, and then by recording myself, I can watch and see all the imperfection and how to tune them regarding to according to my audience. Right. So that's something that I did, and also watching a lot of video on YouTube, especially from Goldman. I watch a lot of from a lot of video from him.
I love that, Yvan. I actually have videotapes from my days at Cisco where an executive coach was recording me and then going over things. So I totally, totally remember these things like yesterday. So excellent, excellent. Great advice for everybody out there. You've got cell phones, you've got something, record yourself. Engineering interviews are tell me about this tech, Architecture interviews are present. So kind of one of those things. Chris, you want to bring in the next question? Ditter Champion, how do we get in touch to learn more about the Go Cloud Architects program? Ditter, we'd love to speak with you. We're going to give you a couple ways to reach out to us. First, we're going to do something nobody would do on YouTube. We're going to put our phone number down. And our phone number is +1 973 896 4889. Chris will pop it up on a banner, and Chris from my team will pop it in the YouTube chat window. Chris will also pop a link to the course if you're interested, and he will even pop a 20% off coupon into the link, and he will be posting that inside of the chat window. And if I'm correct, Chris, if you could take care of those things, I want to make sure we do that. But Didier, we'd love to speak with you. Give us a call. You can find us online. You can connect to us on LinkedIn. You can connect to us on, I would say LinkedIn. You can leave us questions and comments on YouTube as well. Or you can email us at elitetechcareers@gmail.com. And Chris will pop that in the chat box below, and we would love, love, love to speak with you. And you can call us on WhatsApp as well. If you're from another country, we use that number as WhatsApp as well as regular phone. Chris, let's get to the next question. I look like I saw some popping in, which I always love.
You're muted, Chris.
Yeah, I've got new assignments, so I got to get this stuff out.
Oh, sorry about that, Chris. Well, anyway, so here's the thing. Chris is like Mr. Amazing. He's my chief operating officer, and I'm asking him to run a show, post comments in there, and then bring new things on here. And sometimes I don't realize all the magic that goes on behind the scenes.
All right.
It's a lot. It's way too many hats to run, and none of this will work, and nothing would work well without Chris. So, Chris, thank you for everything.
Okay, here we go.
That is a great question from Pierre Dassault, who's over there in Canada. What did a typical day while you were preparing look like, meaning before you were hired?
Okay. Wow, that's a deep question. So I'm gonna start a little bit back from the summer when I was preparing for the solution architect associate. I mean, when I took the solution architect associate and professional exam. Usually during the summer I work like 35 to 40 hours per week, like seven shift. And the day that I wasn't working, I was studying 9 hours. So usually in the morning I would I will wake up like a 7 a.m., sometimes 6, but I will start to study at 8. I will study for 2 hours, take like a 20-minute break, then study again for 2 hours, then take like a 30-minute break, and then 1 hour. That would take me 5 hours before like 3 p.m. And then in the evening, usually start around 7 of 8, and then I will study for another 3 to 4 hours, depending on the day. So that was like 8 to 9 hours. But the day that I had to work, because I usually work on the afternoon, like at 4 p.m., I will only do 5 hours. That was what I was doing. Prior to the professional exam, the certification, the professional AWS certification exam, I took the entire week off, and then I think I studied for like 50 hours because I was studying 8 hours every day, and I was only studying 8 hours every day. And the last day, I think I studied like the day before the exam. I think I studied like 9 hours. So that's the way I was studying. But I was taking 2 hours, 20-minute break, 2 hours, 20-minute break. And when I study, I put my phone away. Like I even remove my Instagram and stuff like that to be really focused. When I was preparing for the interview, the recruiter sent me the different type of material that I have to study or to be prepared for the interview. So what I did, I went and did some research, and I came up creating that 25 pages for technical interview, and I think 3 pages for the behavioral, and for the 25 pages for the technical interview, uh, I think I memorized everything. I think I memorized everything. But the way I was studying was pretty much the same, but it was very different here because it was during class time, and at the same time I have to attend the Growth Architect program. But it was pretty much the same thing, right? When I was commuting, for example, I was going to school. When I was commuting, I didn't have a chance to watch the video because my classes last like 3 hours. I didn't have the chance because it was on Monday and Friday, and those at the beginning. That's like September, October, the class was on Monday and Friday. So what I did, the 3 hours that I was commuting, I used those to go over the video, the different video that Mike did post on the Google Architect website. And then I have my notebook somewhere here. I have a small notebook where I was always taking designing the architecture. It was good because while I was in class, I couldn't post, right? Yeah, Zoom call, you can't post if you don't understand something. But when I commute, I have the chance to pause if I don't understand something and maybe do some Google search to really have a deep understanding of what Mike or a student is talking about. And that way I was considered moving on. And that's how I was pretty much learning. Even during the summer, I remember when and I think I told you that, Mike, when I found you, I was preparing for the professional exam, and I was always listening to your video. I'll have my headset when I was riding my bike to work, and then that's how I was listening to all the video that you have about how to prepare for the job interview. That's how I listened to all those videos. So I was constantly like emerging myself into the technology and into the field. Yeah.
Yvonne, or Pierre, I'm gonna take Yvonne's what he told you and tell you what I did. Since I did something similar. So I had been a really hardcore engineer. I mean, hardcore engineer. And when I was told, hey, by the way, learn all this businessy stuff and it'll change your life, I took every leadership course, finished my MBA. I was working in New York City, and my MBA program was 2 miles away from the Delaware border, way past the Philadelphia airport. It was about 120 miles away, 130 miles away. I'd leave my house in Princeton, New Jersey, around 6 o'clock in the morning. I would drive to my office in New York City to be, say, there at 8:30 in the morning. I'd work. I'd leave around 5. Then I would drive for 4 hours to get to Delaware, and then I would drive 2 hours home. So that basically gave me upwards of 6 hours of drive time every day. So in my MBA program, I went through every business and leadership book you could find, all on audio tape. Well, those days there were tapes and CDs, but so I'd have a stack of CDs and I'd literally go through a book a day. And that's really how I got my professional development. And it made all the difference in the world for me. So I love that creativity. So they say necessity is the mother of all invention. Look at that adaptability. The only time he had to study was in between his other studying was, driving, but he did it. So, I've had a lot of jobs in my life. I've had a lot of careers in my life. I had an injury a couple of years ago where the doctors told me I would never walk again and that all I had to look forward to was extreme pain and would I like a morphine pump now or later. And I said, no morphine pump. I'm going to be going to physical therapy and I don't care how hard it works and I'll do whatever I need to get better. And, I'm not perfect. I still struggle every day to get through the day physically, but you know what? I can do it. And now I've got thousands of people all around the world getting jobs. So the point is, there's people that make excuses why they can't be successful. And there's people that look for reasons. If you think, can you do it? The answer is yes, you can. If you think you don't have enough time, you do. Look at what Yvonne did. He had it. And I promise you, that schedule is busier than 99% of the populations, but he still did it. I did it. I literally went to school 7 to 3, and I worked 3:30 to 11, Monday through Friday. And Tuesday and Thursdays, I also worked 11 to 7, which made me late for school those 2 days. And I worked a 16-hour day on Saturday and Sunday, managed to get a 4.0 in school while working full time. So any of us can do it. Now, by the time I got done school, was I miserable? Yes. Did I write all my papers in the back of an ambulance after depositing my patients at the hospital? And that's the whole time? Yes. Was it fun? Not one bit. But the point is, I built my career. So excellent. Chris, you want to bring in the next question?
Um, uh, how I come across the opportunity. Um, what I did some research on different AWS job because that was kind of like, I mean, it wasn't my target at the beginning, but it became a target when I felt that I was technical my technical competency was kind of very very high, I would say. So I just searched through, and then I found a job on the AWS job portal, and then I went ahead and then I did apply. But what happened? I think I did apply for, I think it was like maybe October the 17th or the 18th, but nothing was moving. At 2 or 3 days, I never received anything from any recruiter saying that I was moving to the next step. So then what I did, I went on LinkedIn and I emailed, I think I probably sent a message to like 15 AWS recruiter. I said like, you know what? I'm Yvan Tamba. I'm highly energetic, highly motivated. I've I've spent the last year of my life learning about cloud computing. I've spent more than 20 hours per day learning about cloud computing. I really like technology and data center. This is my blog. I wrote a blog. I put a link to my blog. Can you please take a look at my work? And then I would like to connect because I did apply to this job and nothing's moving. I think I sent that to 15 recruiter, but one recruiter did reply, and then but she was like a senior recruiter type of position. And she was like, "Yeah, you find interesting, but I'm not a recruiter. Adapt to your type of position. What I'm gonna do, send me the job ID, and then I'm gonna pass it on to that to the person who are managing that position." And that's how I think I sent her the link on, it was on a Sunday. 2 days later, I was moving to the skill assessment test, and
It,
then
it,
from
it,
there on, it's history.
yeah, so he created the opportunity. So, as an architect, you need sales skills, and we trained him heavily in sales skills. We also told him what managers want, and a lot of those things were in there, but he took it upon himself to go find it. Nothing is given to us. You got to go find it. That's really the thing. And that's why I said earlier, all you have to do is ask. You'd be surprised how many people say yes. You ask 100 people, even if 99 say no.
Yeah,
If one says yes, you won.
that's one thing you
So,
need.
I mean, the key is, you know, I learned everything about our careers in life revolves around sales. And if we don't think we're in sales, we're just lying to ourselves. Let's say we're working in a company and we're now a cloud architect, but we're not tied to sales. And your manager says, here, I need you to go build this. And you're going to say, or design this. And you're going to say, design this. And he says, yeah. And if he says, and you look at this thing and see there might be $50 million of big data in it, and $30 million of networking in it, and $20 million of web apps in it, and the only thing you know is cloud networking, which could be fine, you're going to have to go design this. And what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to sell the management to let you borrow the people to do it. So no matter what, you will always be selling. And if you work for a company and you want to design an architecture, you're going to have to sell the manager to buy it, because otherwise they're not going to buy it. Businesses don't buy tech, they buy solutions to their problems. So no matter where you're at, you're going to be selling. So I love how you did it. You read the blog. I'm going to give you a little more advice for the people that are out there and listening, because there's 2 ways that you can make a post or you can reach out to someone. And the psychology of these 2 is really critical. And one really saddens me when I see it, and one really excites me. The first example of what not to do is say, please help me. I've been rejected by this person, this person, this person, and I really need a job. Please help me. Please share this with your network. The reason I don't want you to do this is if you can look into the work of Robert Cialdini and persuasion, people only like things that other people want. So the second you say, I need help, nobody wants me, it's showing the potential employer not to hire you. And we all want to do that. If we're all struggling, we want to paint it that way. By comparison, I'll give you the exact opposite. When we first launched this company, everybody knew me for networking. I could start a CCIE class tomorrow and have 50,000 people in it because, I've been teaching networking people. I helped coach sometimes people, the engineers at Cisco. When I did SE training there, I did SE training in another company. So I've been teaching people forever in tech. When we did a cloud boot camp, we didn't fill it up on our first time. So I started looking for other people that I thought could use the opportunity. And I saw a Marine publish on LinkedIn. If anybody is looking for a good, hardworking person that wants to help you in your business, please consider me. I've just left the Marine Corps. I've been working in tech in the Marine Corps, and I want to work for you. I looked at this post and I said, this is it. I actually saw this post. I liked it. I commented on it, and I sent this person a connection request. And I called this nice young Marine and I said, you know what? You just left. I'm running a boot camp. As it turns out, I got a couple of empty slots. Come free. He comes to the boot camp for the
Yeah,
week.
yeah, go ahead, Max.
And in the end of the week, we had a 2-day interview session. He does the interview session. Now, I was teaching cloud architecture work. He wanted to be more hands-on tech. Within 2 weeks, he was a cloud engineer. The point was his post, I want to go out there and help you, which is the same post that you made, Yvan. So when anybody wants to reach out to people, what's in it for them? Not what's in it for you. Kind of keep that out there. Yvan, what were you going to say?
I think what I also want to say is that when you email a recruiter or when you send a message to a recruiter, know that a recruiter job is to bring more people in, and the more people the recruiter bring in, the more successful they are. So you want to let them know, to show them that you're going to have a value, that you're 100% sure that by taking your resume and moving forward, you're going to be in, right? And that's something that I wrote in my message, and I was like, I'm the host that you can bet on, and you're 100% sure you will win. That's why I put it in when I was reaching out to each of those recruiters. So I was putting a strong message that I am the candidate that you need. I'm the person that you want for this job. So take me, but not begging, as you say, but pretty much aligning all my knowledge through posting the link to my blog, so they can have a look at all my work and judge me based on that. Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the key. And I know we've got a lot of questions, but he showed it what was in it for them. He reached out. Look, you can see I've done this. You can see my capabilities. He provided proof. He provided evidence. He had a blog. Just bring in the next one. But yes, I love that. That's why you're successful. And you'll continue to do that throughout your career, and that will continue to make you successful. Ms. Laman Jamin, do you feel like having a computer engineering degree was an advantage to you in the process? How did it help you, if at all?
That's an interesting question. Uh, I think having computer engineering, not a degree, and having to have a degree in May, kind of background of knowledge, I think it did help, right? Uh, Maybe because on different type of project I did work on, or maybe also can also type of how I can say, when you work on some different type of project, you kind of your way of thinking, right, kind of change, right? Because it depends how can be the project. So that's something that I kind of get from that computer engineering background that I have, like the different type of project I work on, and how I was able to think outside of the box, right? That's something that I was able to translate into the solution architect job. Because when you have a project, sometimes the project is from scratch. You have to build that project, right? You have to think outside of the box. That's something that I have to translate. But the thing is, you can think outside the box not only from computer engineering background, but even from the sales background, right? Because when you have to sell something, sometimes you have to think outside the box. You have to come with something different from what other people are proposing, right? The same thing when creating a project where the market is already competitive. You want to bring your own project in the market, but you want to have that project be competitive. That's something that I've learned in the computer engineering, and you can learn it from anywhere else, right? So your background here, I want to say, really, it doesn't really matter per se,
Exactly.
right? Because I'm not going to implement anything from the computer engineering that I have moving on, right? But what I did could help me, right? Better figure it out, or better thinking outside the box to solve solution, or to bring solution to all those customers. And that's something that you can get from any field.
And one more thing from Islam and Jamin. I want to make this clear. Right now, Yvan does not have a BS in computer engineering. He has an associate degree. So he will have a BS in computer engineering, and IEWS was willing to hire him now. He asked them to wait so he can finish his degree. So it's not like your degree really mattered because he hasn't finished one yet. And I want you to know that he's just that good. So we can always say I have the wrong degree, I did the wrong this, but the point is it doesn't matter. He hasn't finished the degree. It was his characteristics that were so great. Chris, you want to bring in the next one? Chair, what was the most easy part of your journey?
That's one of my mentor. That's a very interesting question.
I'm so happy he's here then. Thank you for everything you've done for Yvan.
The most easy part of the journey. Mm, I think the most easy part of the journey was to believe in myself, believe that I have the ability to do it. Because really go out there and do it is very different from believing that you can do it. I think that was the most easy part. Believing that I have the ability, that I have the capability to get a job at AWS, that I have the ability to become a solution architect, just like those solution architects that a year ago I watched them teaching me on the cloud practitioner free AWS bootcamp, right? I think the most easy part of the journey, believing in myself.
Excellent, 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 Yvan. And thank you so much, Blocher. Russ DJ, what websites do you recommend for building your personal blog?
Mm, I Right now I'm using I'm on two different platforms. I have some posts on Hashnode, which is my main the main website that I'm using, Hashnode, and the other one is Tailfield. I was approached I think a month ago by some people from Tailfield. I think they found some of my work on Hashnode, and they asked me to bring those on Tailfield. So they want me to start posting on Tailfield. So you can find me on two different platforms, Hashnode and Tailfield. But I'm saying, like, the platform doesn't really matter, right? Because what matters is the substance that you have in your blog, right? Because in my resume, I have my on top, I have my LinkedIn. I have the link to my LinkedIn account and the link to my blog. So it doesn't really matter. The platform is irrelevant. What is more important here is the substance that you have in that blog. As long as you put the link on your resume, and the recruiter can click on that and go into your resume and into your blog and see what you've done, I think that's it. Yeah.
I'm going to add one thing to that, Russ DJ. When you put a blog out and you put a link to that blog, make it the best thing you've ever done in your life. Because here's the thing, you're going to be pointing employers to this blog saying, this is me and this is what I can do for you. So if you're like me and you make spelling errors, hire an editor or find a friend that can know the difference between a comma and a semicolon, and were, or your and yours. So whatever the case is, make it good. Make your graphics good. Remember, you're using this to say, I'm an architect. This is you. This is your brand. So make it really beautiful. Great question, Russ. Chris, bring in the next one. Ms. Laman Jamin, how do you nurture your creative mind as a cloud solutions architect? I think we can both give you an answer for that. Yvan, why don't you go first and then I'll do it.
How do you nurture your creative mind as a creative cloud architect, creation architect? I think the first thing, and that's something that I do in everything I try to implement in my life. I always find what are the different problems, right? For example, I will take one example. Right now on my senior design project, it's about building a vested tracker. So early, like in 2002, the professional Cameroon soccer player who died in the field while playing soccer, right? And early this last summer, Christian Eriksen, a soccer player from Europe, almost died in the soccer field. So when in September, when they asked me at Georgia Tech, what idea can you propose for your senior design project? I was like, how come we have all the soccer player dying, almost dying in the soccer field, and we have all this technology, and we're still not able to remediate to something like that? So my idea is simply to build a vested tracker, right, that can measure soccer player speed, heartbeat, and high metabolic load distance, right? The IoT device is connected to AWS in real time, and through AWS we do some analysis, and there's a dashboard where the coach or the medical staff can have and monitor the soccer player in real time. So that's an idea that I have. For sure, there's already some product like that in the market, but I wanted to bring something different from a different perspective. So that's as a solution architect, you always have to find what is the problem, right? What is the problem, and what solution can I bring to solve that problem? That's how I always look at life. You don't look at life looking at solution, but you look at life looking at problems and how you can bring solutions to those problems.
Exactly. Now, let's think about that. So periodically in medicine, we see a dilated hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, and it is almost impossible for us to find it. And we typically see it in a young 18-year-old athlete in college, whether it's a basketball player, a young soccer player, football, whatever you call it. And if somebody could find that, that would be really, really amazing. So that's a really neat project. You find a couple of cardiologists to work through that, and you could have $1 billion solution. So if you need some cardiologists, or medical advice, just let me know. I might know some medical people because I think you've got something really there. So, Ms. Laman Jamin, for me, it's a matter of settling down and taking a step back. I was a martial artist my whole life, but I don't practice martial arts anymore. I can do yoga after the injury, so I practice yoga or meditate. I take a deep step back. I'm relaxed. Then what I do is I basically take a whiteboard and I start literally circling the problems so I can see all the stuff. And then once I know the problems, I take another step back, do a little more meditation. Then I start thinking about what are the levers I have into each problem. And then from there, I try and think to conclusion, okay, if I do this, what is that impact on this, and this? And then I pop it in and put whatever decisions I need. And I do that for every variable until I'm done. And then typically then I walk through the logic again and then proof of concept test it. So that's how I do it, because there's all these weird factors that are in there. And if you're focused in or really staring at it, you can't see it. So I have to come on and off and on, because as soon as you see the problem for more than 10 minutes or 20 minutes and zoom in on something, because you got to work out the details on one thing, you've lost your focus on the big picture. So it's better if you can always be the leader and have a bunch of people to help you with it. But if you can't, that's what the process is. It's come in, come out, come in, come out. Take a break, take a lot of breaks. Okay, so Chris has got a lot of stuff. Let Chris pop in some of the things he wants to do. Z, struggling and second guessing yourself with learning material right now. I'm so sorry to hear that. I haven't been doing the coursework lately, and I've been focusing on the CSA associate course. Is that a bad idea? Z, absolutely. Here is the thing. Even if somebody is a certified solution architect professional, let's say they are. And honestly, if I wanted to, I could get anybody to pass that exam in 2 weeks with zero knowledge. I could put into the exact practice test or exact copies of the exam. Everybody knows it. And that's how people get 10x AWS certified in a year. The problem is the job of the architect is to go start with that client and ask the client about their business and then figure out what are the solutions. And those solutions are going to be technology solutions, network solutions, data center solutions, not AWS solutions, or not Google solutions, or not Azure solutions. They're going to be data center solutions, data center technologies. And then what you need to do is map those data center technologies to the appropriate technologies, equivalent technologies on the cloud. So if you come back to the class and you do the architecture work with us, you'll be learning the big picture things. What is the storage and how does the storage work? How does this database work? When do you use a NoSQL database? When do you use Apache Cassandra versus MongoDB? When do you go serverless? When do you not go serverless? Those are the architectural decisions. How do you set up your routing? And none of that's covered in there. So please come to class. Let's focus on the things you need. And if it takes you 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, nobody's rushing you. You finish when you're cloud hired. We give you up to a year. Take your time. Interact, do some labs with your fellow students. I bet you if you just posted right now an @channel in the career development group and said, I need a little help, I bet you would get 50 people that would love to respond to you within 5 minutes. I see it every day. So that's what I would do. So focus on the course. And when you know the tech, and then, okay. So Chris, if you want to bring in some of the next content that's come in.
Just to add something, Mike, to that, to Z. I was interviewed. I was interviewed by 6 different people at AWS, right, for getting a job, and only 2 of those people had the professional exam. Some of them only have the cloud practitioner exam certification. So it's just, and I was amazed. I thought all of them will have the working as AWS because all of them were solution architect working at AWS, but only 2 of them. One of them was even a manager, but only 2 of them have the professional certification. So that's just to show how important knowing about the technology, the importance of knowing about the technologies is compared to all the certification, especially the services one.
And you know what? Well, while Yvan had a chance to speak, I actually went through the comments. Many of our fellow students reached out to you, Z, already. And you haven't even done anything with our Slack channel. Our Slack channel and our 500 people actually have more activity than some of the other chat channels that have 30,000 people that people talk about. We get more activity and our messages get done faster. So please, Z, don't worry about the certification. Worry about learning. 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 10 months. I don't care. Just come to class and be successful. Nobody's rushing you. The students already reached out to you here, and I bet you go check your Slack matches when you come back. Lots of my students are there, and I know some of my students that are leaders that actually help run the family, like Ivo Doiki and others, probably send you a message in 2 minutes. So, Z, we love you. Come back. Noel, Mike's program does a great job of getting us to understand how the cloud works without worrying about certifications. I think focus on the course, and you'll be more comfortable in. Thank you, Noel. So there you go. You've already got a response from another student. I couldn't see the responses because I was trying to talk to you, but right there that fast, you've already got responses. Noel, like Mike and Yvan mentioned, I think sometimes when we focus too much on the certifications, we get too zoned in on learning on the jargon, and that makes you feel overwhelmed. Yes, exactly, Noel. Robert, we're thrilled to have you here.
Thank you, Robert.
Do I need a technical or CS background to get a job as an architect? Absolutely not. I used to practice medicine, and and Yvan is still in school. The reason I'm staying still in school is not because I want to make light of what his education. I know how educated he is. I speak to Yvan every day. He hasn't finished school and he has more knowledge than some PhDs I know. But the really issue is I want you to know that he hasn't finished yet, to know that you could do it. Because on paper, he doesn't have it yet. He just did it. So you can do it. That's the reason. And a couple months from now, you could be hired just like Yvan.
That's true. You don't really need that technical or CS background. It's just about really learning about the technology. So when you go to the interview, if you have the ability, if your technical competence is very high, then you will get a job. Because one of the things that one recruiter told me, it was that I have more than enough technical skills for the position. That's what one of them told me. So you don't need a technical background or CS background to get a job as an architect.
In fact, I would tell you that I would think the best backgrounds to become an architect are business,
Yeah.
finance, economics, and potentially psychology. And the reason psychology is, if you truly understand how people think, you're in a good position for management positions. I would say the best preparation is not a computer science degree. It's something on the business side, because the technology, what we learn in school is typically how to code or things like that. We're so far away from coding, it might as well be a different career. I've never coded a thing in my life in my 25-year architecture career, but I do presentations every day. I do ROI modeling every day. I look at supply and demand curves every day. I look for workflow and process redesign every day. I read financial statements every day. I look at balance sheets every day. Those are the skills that we need. So you don't have to get them in an MBA program. You can learn them on your own, but don't worry about it. There's nothing holding you back. Chris, bring in the next one. Raul Paniker. As long as you keep moving, you are good, Z. Raul is another one of my amazing students. Thank you for reaching out to Z. Z will be wildly successful. Please, everybody, go out there for Z. Raul Paniker. My question to Yvan is, what type of cloud architect prepared you for networking, security, database, or infrastructure? Did you pick a type, and did you focus on a type?
Um, that's a very good question. How right now I haven't picked a type because I'm just gonna be like a solution architect. But I'm going to I'm gonna focus more into security. That's a area that I'm very interested in, and then that's something that I'm gonna really be focused on in. But right now I'm just a solution architect. I don't have it. I don't have a type per se.
You can figure out where you want to be. Miss Laman Jamin. Do you plan on getting more certifications in the future, like a specialty? Why or why not?
Getting more certification, probably. I don't think so. Maybe I don't know yet, but I'm planning on getting an MBA because I want to more focus on the business side. Because I've noticed that companies are run by business people, and even people on the own company, they have this business knowledge. And my goal is not only to be a solution architect my entire life, but is to have my own consulting company, as a cloud consulting company. So I think having an MBA will help me along for a lot. Will help me to accomplish that. So maybe no more certification, but mainly getting an MBA.
Smart decisions. So this is why Yvan is going to be there. I will ask him his certs in a minute. I like typically a professional in the cloud and a professional industry, or maybe two professionals on the cloud and nothing else. Here's the thing. Once you reach that point, you can get 50 more certifications and it won't make your salary budge $1. Your technology only gets you so far. Your intelligence quotient only gets you so far. What gets you above that, the difference between a $150,000 architect and a $500,000 architect, is leadership skills, business skills, emotional intelligence, communication skills, not an 11th certification. I could walk into the CEO's office of a bank and say, I've got 20 certifications, and they'll say, Mike, get out of my office. Or I can walk into the CEO of a bank and say, I can help you earn an additional $20 billion this year. The way I can do this is I can make your algorithmic trading system have lower latencies, and you'll be able to process a trade in nanosecond faster than your competitors. And with the volume of trades that you place, that could be an additional $20 billion a year, and it'll only cost $1 million for the solution. That's what I need to do. That's how my career grows. It doesn't grow because of another certification. It's irrelevant at that point. But Yvan, what certifications do you have?
I have I have the Microsoft Azure 900. I think it's Microsoft Azure Fundamental. I have the AWS Associate Solution Architect. I have the AWS Professional Solution Architect. I have a Scrum Master certification. I have an IBM Data Analysis certification, and I also did the AT&T Training Academy. Yeah, so I think I have like five or six certifications, but no more though. Now is mostly focused on business acumen, so an MBA, and then yeah.
And which one certification got you hired out of the five? Which one was the one that got you the interview?
I think it's probably the professional, because they were all kind of amazed to see that even before graduating from school, I already have a professional. Like I say, I went to all the different LinkedIn profile, all the people who interview me, and only two of them out of six are the professional exam. It doesn't mean that they can take it, but it's not like an easy exam, right? So I think that's something that really they were kind of like amazed when they saw that. Yeah.
It does. It's the big ones are
Yeah,
a
exactly.
sledgehammer, and the other ones are just like
Yeah,
little flies.
yeah, exactly,
If you have too
exactly.
many of them, like he's fine now, he's young, but if you have too many of them, it will lower your salary because it'll make you look unfocused. You become the certification junkie, not the architect. Chris, you want to bring in the next one? IO. Well, I know a lot of IOs, some students IO, some friends IO. So IO, so wonderful to have you here. Good to have you, Yvan. What were the challenges in your initial first month on the job? So IO, he hasn't started yet. He interviewed with AWS. AWS made him an offer and they hired him. They wanted to hire him today. And he said, but I haven't finished school yet. Could you wait for me? And they liked him so much, they said yes. So when is your first month?
My first month is June. I will start June 6th. But yeah, just like you say, normally I was supposed to, because my first offer letter stated that I have to start December the 27th. So this December. But I told them that I needed to get my degree. So the global hiring manager allowed me to get my degree. So that's how they were able to push my starting date to June 6th.
There you go. And what I'm showing is there's no reason he hasn't finished yet. And they're waiting for him 5-6 months. Who waits 6 months for somebody? It's because he's Yvan. Chris, bring in the next one. Miss Lam Jamin. Actually, this is a great question. What did you learn on yourself, your journey about self-discipline? What are the highlighting moments of fruits from your self-discipline that shaped you to be a better leader? Did your blog help your discipline?
Wow, that's a lot of questions. My journey about discipline. So what I found is very interesting is that for this job, or maybe for anything that you want to accomplish in life, I think the most important thing is that the two most important things that you need, I would say, dedication and discipline. Because I think being genuinely born with some high level of IQ, that's something that we get, right? We don't really go out and learn about how to get an IQ, right? But the dedication and discipline is something that we can incorporate in our daily life and to reach greatness. So discipline is a very important factor, and that did play is still playing a big role in me, right? Or playing a big role in me getting the job, or even me in my entire journey. Um, One of the things that I always found is that if you're really disciplined, if you know what you want, and if you know the different type of sacrifice and step that you have to take to go up or to go where you want to go, you will get there, right? Some people around you might not understand the different choice that you make, right? Maybe the different sacrifice that you make. Because I remember sometimes people complaining that okay, you're only working, right? You don't have time to enjoy life, or you don't do this, you don't take vacation. Like I never taken any vacation. Some people were taking. I was like, no, I still have to work. But now I'm going to take some, right? And then they're going to be paid, because when you work for a restaurant, if you take a month or a week of vacation, you work on the clock, so you you don't get paid, you don't get any money, you only go out and spend more money. But now if you work as, for example, AWS solution architect, you take vacation and you're still being paid. So that's a different type of sacrifices that I decided to make, and that's kind of discipline, right? One of the things about discipline that I found out is, or did I did implement, was the way I was studying, right? That 2 hours of studying, 20 minutes of break, 2 hours of studying, 20 minutes of break, right? That also did play a big role in me getting there, because I was able to really be focused for 2 hours, take the time to relax, and then go in again. So discipline is very, very important factor if you want to succeed. That's what I think. I mean, it worked for me, and also a dedication, because that what will set you apart from other people. Maybe not on the short run, but for sure on the long run, you're gonna have a big impact.
I think that's great. It really is dedication and it's discipline. And I will tell you, I've trained more people that I can count. I can't, I haven't lost count. I always ask people, how hard are you willing to work? And here's the reason. It's not the smartest person. It's not the 4.0 student. It's not the person that comes from the richest family. I mean, it could be, but it's the person that works the hardest. It's the person that wakes up and focuses. When they get to the office, they focus on the one thing. When they do their training, they focus like a laser on one thing. It's not like, if I go to the store, I go and buy the one thing. People that go shopping, they walk in, they look around, they look around, they look around. And by the time they leave, it's been 2 hours and they haven't found what they wanted. And if that's your idea of fun, that's it. But like, I don't have a lot of time. So when I need something, it's like, okay, if I have to go to that store and I can be in and out in 3 minutes, I save 57 minutes for that hour that I can actually work. So the discipline. Ms. Laman-Jamin, it takes me 3 hours every morning to be able to walk. I have a neurological condition called reflex sympathetic dystrophy. I can't use my foot in the morning. I have to literally work on every joint, and it feels like fire and a bed of nails. And I do that for an hour just to be able to get down the stairs. Then I've got another set of physical therapy that I do, and then I sit in a room that's 130 degrees and I stretch for an hour just to be able to be on a 9 o'clock call. So discipline is the secret for all of it. And never trying to find an excuse. Not looking for anything, well, do I not have this? Do I not have this? Just, like, no matter what, my life depends on it. I'm going to do anything I need to win. That's the secret. That's what Yvan did. Chris, you want to bring in the next one? Why RRM4X? Go Cloud Architects, you're telling me no programming knowledge when I look at architect roles, everyone wants Terraform and PowerShell Bash. I'm telling you, in 25 years, I've never written a script. I'm telling you that my students that work for IBM, those are working for Bearing Point, those are working for Accenture, none of them are coding. I don't care at all what's in any of these job descriptions, because that's not what architects do. I actually posted a video. Chris posted a link for this video because these job descriptions were so ridiculous and so bogus. Gartner, who evaluates everything in technology, literally started asking CIOs, what do you want in a cloud architect? And they said things like people that can lead the cultural change for cloud adoption and develop uncoordinated cloud strategy, find talent with the necessary skills. YRR M4X, you may never configure or touch the management console or your command line in your entire architecture career. I haven't in 20 some years of architecture. And guess what? My working architects haven't touched the management console once in 6 months or a CLI. We architects go to the CEO, we go to the customer, and we ask about their business. We spend a tremendous amount of time trying to figure out their business. Then we come up with an end state, which includes technology and workflow redesigns. And that's what we do. And then we figure out the tech across multiple clouds, data centers, and other things. I don't code. I don't configure. According to CIO Magazine, CIOs don't want their architects doing that. That is what engineers do. And if you start looking at these positions, those that want all the coding and configuring, they have an architect title, but that's not architects. And they don't pay architect salaries either. They pay engineering salaries. So you've got the choice. You can be the kind of architect like me that functions at the CEO level, more of the enterprisey side of the cloud architect, where you could try and be that technical architect, which is an engineer. And you've got a choice for either. But realize that if you try and get a bigger engineering job, bigger architect job, and you tell people that you can code and you can script and you know Terraform, they're going to look at you as not an architect, because they're going to say, You know how to build it. I don't need a builder. I need a problem solver. I need someone that can look at the big picture. I can look at someone that can do an ROI, someone that can evaluate the cost of the problem. I need a management consultant. And you know what? When I do management consulting and I do architecture, it's the same. In management or strategy consulting, we ask the customer, what is your business goal? What are your pain points? What are your challenges? What are you trying to achieve? What are your competitors doing? What problems are you trying to solve? From there, I look at all the business opportunities we have from a business perspective. Pricing chases, more sales, improved productivity, and the technologies that can change that. And then I come up with a technology solution, whatever it's going to be. And then I have to sell that back to the customer, present it. And as soon as it's done, there's a team of cloud engineers that are going to go build it. And if it's infrastructure as code, they're going to hand it to a team of DevOps engineers, which is another type of engineering. So no, I'm an architect. I'm designing the solution. If I'm a pilot, I fly the plane. I don't hand out the drinks at the same time. The flight attendant keeps the people safe. The pilot flies the plane. Before I would practice medicine, I was a nurse. When I was a nurse, I took care of the patients. When I practiced medicine, I went in, I evaluated the patient, I made a diagnosis, wrote some orders, and the nurse carried out the orders. Why? Because I can't be looking at one patient and treating another patient at the same time. You can't be in two places at once. And if you focus on both things, you'll be a bad architect and a bad engineer. So if you want to be an architect, focus on architecty things. If you like the cloud engineering work, and cloud engineering work is really amazing work. Do the cloud engineering things, but no matter what, you've got to build your brand. Your brand determines the jobs you get. If your brand is all tech, that's great. Go do tech work. That's engineering. If your brand is hybrid business tech, now you're an architect. When my people go on these interviews, they're not tech interviews. They're not at all. They're mostly behavioral. They're a little technical. Did you have was anything super technical?
No, and just to follow up to what you're just saying, because in the job description as listed on AWS website, it was mentioned that a qualification or requirement for the candidate to have some knowledge of, or maybe they have like C, C++, or Python or Java. So I thought there were going to be some programming at some maybe on the final round. So I went ahead and I bought this big book about how to crack the program, the coding interview. And when I was preparing for the final loop, the recruiter sent me all the different material that I have to work on. And I was like, I don't see coding step, like coding interview in it. When is a coding interview? She was like, there's no coding in it. We don't have coding for architect role. And I was very amazed because in the job description, if you only go even now on the website, it is listed some knowledge or some knowledge of C, Java, maybe plus, Python, stuff like that. So I think it really depends. You have the cloud architect and the cloud engineer. Those are very two different role or position.
They're very different. And then we're going to bring in a different kind of question. And I just want to say this. A low performance company gets 3,000 applications for a single job. A good company that everyone wants to go to gets more than 5,000. So HR will put up a list of things to look like roadblocks to keep other people from applying. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't apply. It means master architect skills. Be really good at your job. Be so good at your job. And if they ask you about your capabilities to do somebody else's job, just say, you know, I've not had the opportunity to learn that technology yet, but I'm highly motivated, highly energetic, and highly enthusiastic. And if it was critical for you to be part of your team, I would go above and beyond to learn it. But I need to be honest with you, it's not my expertise. But you know what I'm an expert on? This, and this. And then point them to those things, but be an expert on it. Be able to wow them with depth. Show them you're good. We don't need a jack of all trades and a master of none that can't do anything. We need somebody that can do the job. So just be good at what you do. Nobody expects you to know everything because you can't know everything. Chris, you want to bring in the next thing? And while we're having fun, if you're here and having fun, type #CloudHired. And please, while you're at it, hit the like, get some algorithm, keep the algorithm happy. Everything we all do is algorithm-wise these days. Let's have some data science fun. Please, #CloudHired. Hit the like button, forward, subscribe, that kind of thing. Mesh the Cloud Architect. Thank you, Yvan, for sharing your story. It's inspiring me. Please, may you speak about the AWS interview process as a whole and specifically Loop. Okay, so Mesh is an amazing, amazing cloud architect and a wonderful person. Yvan may have some limitations into what he can describe, so we'll work within the constraints of the non-disclosure agreements and what's appropriate for Yvan, not because he doesn't want to, but please understand there are things that are appropriate and things that are not. We want to make sure that he gets to keep that job.
Okay, yeah. So thank you, Mike, for the question. Like just like Mike say, AWS make you sign a non-disclosure agreement before the interview, so you don't disclose what was in the interview, right? So you don't have other candidates or something like that. But I can only give you the highlight or the surface about the interview. So the interview is like you have three different steps. The first one is the skill assessment test. On the skill assessment test, they sent you that skill. It could be an hour to an hour and 30 minutes. It's just to see how your technical knowledge, which is not very technical, and also, I mean, the technical and the behavioral, right? How you behave in a type of real life scenario, right? Working for AWS, for example, how you can incorporate all your fault reduction principle into your tasks, into your daily tasks. That's something that they want to see. Also want to see how your technical expertise, right? By asking you some questions related to cloud computing, right? The second round is a phone interview. The phone interview, mine lasted 45 minutes. It could last more, like up to 90 minutes, depending on candidate. And also the phone interview also have some question regarding the fault reduction principle, like the behavioral principle, to see how technical competent you are, and also how behavioral, right? Also how you behave, and also how you can handle some real life scenario situation. And the last part is the loop. The loop could be either in person or it could be virtual. It just depends on what they decide. But the loop journey is like 4 interview. It was 4 for me, but it could be 4. It could be up to 7 depending on the position. Because for senior position, for example, it's 7, but mine was only 4. And in the loop, it was 1 technical and 3 behavioral, for example. That's something that I can say, but I cannot really give you much more detail about what was in there because I have that limitation.
But mostly behavioral.
Yeah,
But
mostly
I will,
behavioral.
and because I'm not bound by the same limitations mesh, I can say that you need to know those leadership principles. There's 16 of them, but there's 14 of them that are really actionable by you or anyone else. And I made a video on those 14 leadership principles. Chris from my team can pop it into the chat box so you can see it, Mesh. But you've got to know that, and just keep that. Chris, if you want to bring in the next one. Ifoma, thank you, Yvan, for sharing your success story. Randy, do students get recordings of the classes? So Randy, I guess I'll explain what we do in 3 ways. We have 3 components to our training. We have a live training session that we do twice per week on Zoom. And it's live, you ask questions, we all architect, we all do presentations. It's a really great time. But we do that together live via Zoom. Now, for people that are not there, we record it and we post it to our portal so people can watch it any time, just like Yvan did. So of course, students get copies of it. So we have a live lecture component to our course. Now we also have a video lecture component to our course. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos in that program, things for you to do, career plans to build, self-development plans to do, presentations to build, architecture lessons to do, designs to do, and you do them on your own. You watch those videos on your own, and then you turn in the assignments via Slack, and we give you feedback on them because we've got to make sure we train you. It's one thing to learn, but we need to know you're learning correctly, and that's how we look and we check, because we're checking your homework on Slack, and we're also seeing you in class. Now, there's also a lab component that's part of our program where you VPN into our data centers, and you work with server virtualization containers, firewalls, VPN concentrators, the LAMP stack, for example, Active Directory, and you'll even build your own cloud. All of our students build their own clouds. Look, these aren't really technical jobs, but you've got to be so technically strong that they can't question you don't know anything. So build those strong technical fundamentals so you can prove you have the experience. And then we focus the career on the stuff that gets you hired and paid more, which is the leadership piece. So that's the way we do that. So those are the 3 components in our program. And we don't care where you come from, meaning if you've never worked in tech before in your life, we'll get you hired. It typically takes us about 8 months to take someone from never working in tech to fully hired. And for people in tech, it's typically about 4 months. 3 months or so for networking and data center professionals, 4 to 5 months for software engineers, that kind of thing. But it doesn't matter as long as the person works hard. As you can see, you can do it with no background and you can do it with heavy background. Happens all the time. Hope I answered that question. Chris, you want to bring in the next one? Hello, Yvonne. Congrats. How long have you taken the course with Go Cloud Architects, and how has the course impacted you?
Oh, hi, Mono. How I pronounce it right? Thank you for the question. I started the Go Cloud Architect program in early September, just after getting the professional certification. And then I think I started my first the skill assessment test with AWS in, I think it was October the 30th. So I would take three to 4 months because I was still learning while I was going into the different step of the interview process. So yeah, three to 4 months. Um, the impact. I mean, wow, the impact that the program has on that the program has on me was it's amazing. I mean, it's very significant if I want to say something like that because I knew everything about the AWS term of services through all the different certification, but I didn't know how to connect the dot. Right, that's something that was missing. Even on top of how to design a security, how to secure VPC in the cloud. I wouldn't be able to do that even though I was professionally certified. So that's something that I learned through the program. Another thing was talking about networking. Right, you don't learn about networking when you take all the certification. So I learned about networking into the program. But the most important, what I think, is social skills, and most intelligent, how to present. Because every time I was like, "Can you present about this? Can you present this architecture?" Okay, present this to a CEO, present this to a CTO, present this to CFO, right? So that way you know your audience and you know how to tailor your presentation or your speech, right? According to your audience, and that's something I learned through the program, right? Also, that emotional intelligence, how to learn how to tune into your audience, right? And that's something was important because Mike was always saying when you go to an interview, you have to find a different kind of, I would say, point where you can tune into your interviewer so you can connect with the interviewer, right? And I was like, me going into the interview, I was like, I have to be able to make each interviewer laugh at least 2 times. Because if I can make them laugh at least 2 times, it means I've been able to create a connection between us. So that's something that I've learned through the program. You have to create that click to connect with the interviewer. Because once you do that, the chance of getting higher increases exponentially at a time. Because some people go to interview, they'll be very shy, right? They'll just answer the question and they won't be just answer the question and then they'll just sit down, just wait, right? They will be very shy. They will be like very in the box, right? Kind of scared. But you go there as it's your show, right? It is your show and you're the one running the show, right? The interviewer just asks you a question. It's my show. I'm running the show and I can bring it. I can drive the show. I can drive that car the way I want it, the way I think about it, the way I want my show to be to be driving. So that's something that I learned through the program, how to drive the interview, how to make it your show. So yeah.
And this is Mike, and we put about $25,000 of soft skills into our training program. We just charge a day's pay for the cloud architect. The reason we do it as follows: when it's your first tech job, and you've got somebody with 3 years experience, but they're not your favorite, but they've got 3 years experience, and somebody that's never done it before, that speaks well, that presents themselves well, that has business acumen, emotional intelligence, leadership, executive presence. Now look where they're at. See, what happens is it's 50% your technical abilities and it's the other 50% of those other things. Now, as it also turns out, when we start looking at certifications and salary, a good certification, typically speaking, can add about $10,000 to someone's salary to a point. Soft skills training, on average, raises someone's salary by 35%. So for an average cloud architect, that's an additional $50,000 just on soft skills training. And when you start thinking about the impact of emotional intelligence in regular jobs, not these executive high-paying positions, but in regular jobs, people with more emotional intelligence earn about $30,000 more than others. So you combine those two things together, you're dealing with about $80,000 a year of benefit. Now, that's why we train him, because we're looking for the career thing, but we're looking for that higher ability. Because when you look at Yvan, you just want to hire him because he makes you feel capable. When you talk to him, you know he knows. When he presents himself, he doesn't act like he doesn't know. I feel him and I feel trustworthy. And I also feel like he knows what he knows and he knows what he doesn't know. And if I give him this project and he doesn't know, he's going to do what Yvan would do. He's going to be thankful and say, Mike, going to take a little longer because I want to build a team. And I'm going to say, thank you. When I leave that room, he's going to politely raise heck. He's going to be calling everybody he knows. And he's going to build a team. And by the time it comes back to me, it's going to be extraordinary because he knows his limitations. You know what I would do? That same thing. I know my limitations too, but that's the reason why businesses feel confident in him. So that's what you need to project. And that takes you from having no experience and being down here where somebody else is here to being on top and winning. They're waiting 5 months for him. They want to hire him now. He hasn't finished school yet, and they're waiting 5 months for him. That's the reason. Chris, bring in the next one. I want you all getting cloud hired, so I just want you to understand the secrets behind the scenes. VNHG, question for Yvan and Mike. What are the benefits of having a flexible or rigid 5-year plan as a solution architect?
I think Mike can start with that one.
Okay, so, VNHG, here's my general position in life. I build a plan for everything. I also build the backup plan for everything. And then I realized that no plan ever survives contact with the enemy. So I adapt, I improvise, and overcome. So VNHG, what I would say is build yourself your 5-year plan and put good, reasonable deadlines on there. Start it out with real, reasonable goals and measurable steps along the way. Now, when you approach it and you try and execute on the plan, you may find out that the thing that you thought was going to take 3 months took you 3 days. Win, take 3 days, celebrate the victory, and run towards your goal. Or the next goal and move your timeline up. Or what you might find is, by comparison, it's nowhere close to as quick as you thought it would be, and it takes you twice as long. So here's where you got to dig deep. Here's where it's just when your mind and your heart. Here's where you just got to keep fighting until you bite through that barrier where you push that rock away. And then you celebrate that victory for a couple days, and then straight back to following that plan. But along the way, that plan may change. For example, we always analyze the market. I've been telling people for years, only learn multi-cloud. And we've taught multi-cloud. I've told all my students, never learn a vendor, learn the cloud. We'll get you certified in one, but you're going to learn how to do it on anybody. And I meant that. But I told people for certifications for first job, it's got to be AWS or Azure. And the reason I said that was Google was only 10% of the market, or less than 10% of the market. So if you need managers to hire you, do you want 50% or 10%? With all these AWS outages, for example, now these Google certifications may become a little more valuable because more people are going to realize that that single cloud, which we've told them about for years, is reckless and a single point of failure now to their cloud. And maybe they start using Google, and I think they will. So now that Google might be a good thing to study, better than it would have been. And I've changed my recommendations. Why? Because the market demographics changed, the data changed. And as soon as the data change, as soon as your customers' requirements change, you have to change. So for example, if right now they want technical architects, you got to focus on being a little more technical. If they want more leadership architects like me, which they usually do, focus on that. So you've got a plan, but you've got to adapt your plan along the way. So keep it flexible.
So that was a very interesting way to put it, Mike. I just want to add something to VNSG. A few years ago, I mean, like years ago, I read a book about from Hill Harper. The title is A Letter to a Young Brother, and in the book, he's constantly talking back and forth with a young boy who doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, right? And Hill Harper kind of gives him some advice how he can be successful. And in the book, he say you have to be an active architect of your life, right? You have to be an active architect of your life. And being an architect is that you need a plan, right? Because as an architect, you have to design that plan, right? So having a 5-year plan, either rigid or flexible, is a good thing, right? But you need to have a plan. That's the first thing, because if you don't have a plan, then you will just be like, you just follow the wind, right? Whatever it blows, it's just gonna go there. But having a plan, you can, after a year or two, after a month or two, you can assess, how am I doing? Am I moving forward? Am I not moving forward? What did I do wrong? How can I better this, what I didn't do right the last time? Just to take an example, regarding me, during the summer, my goal of the summer was to have the associate and professional AWS certification. I took the associate on July the 2nd, and I started studying for the professional on July the 5th. And my goal was to get a professional before the starting of our classes. And we started school it was August the 22nd. So I took it August the 20th. And I remember that my goal was that, right? Close to the professional exam, I didn't feel ready. That's why I took an entire week off from my job so that I can get that exam, because I was like, I have to get this before the beginning of classes, right? Because that was my plan. It was a summer plan to get those both certification. So if I wouldn't have those, if I didn't have that that summer plan, right, or having those, I would have been like, okay, maybe I can take it later on. Maybe I can take it during the break, Christmas, right? And maybe I wouldn't be here today. Maybe because maybe the wanted me so bad, or maybe my resume was brought forward because of that specific professional certification on it. I'm not saying that's the only thing, but maybe that they play a big role on it. So having a very rigid plan of 5 years, 10 years is very important, not only for that role, even for your life.
Wisdom from Yvonne. I mean it, wisdom. You wouldn't know he's not 35. And it's funny. One time in my career, I was Yvonne. Yvonne and I are very, very alike. Communicated in the same way. We both, worked really hard for something. You should have seen me go through school. I just I see a lot of the same things. I forget where I was headed with this, but the wisdom that I remember. I was at a dinner one time, and my manager, who was 45, says, still the youngest guy here, right? And I was 34, and I was ready to say something, and my coach friend kicked me. She's like, "Don't tell anybody." So yeah, when you see that kind of wisdom in a 24-year-old, by 34, he's a CTO. So bring in the next question,
Thank
Gene.
you. Thank you, John.
Yvonne, congratulations on your accomplishment.
Thank
Wonderful. Thanks, Gene. Ivo Doikia. Yvonne, thank you for your wise word. Very comprehensive
you.
speech and
Thank
approach
you.
that matters a lot. Ivo Doikia, I have to say, you surprise me in a pleasant way every single day of the week, um, as do many of my students, but you do in so many ways. Thank you for your kind words. And yes, Yvonne's wise words are absolutely amazing. Chris, you want to bring in the next one? Jean Ferdinand. Yvonne, you mentioned understanding the technology as being important. Did that include networking in Linux? If so, how did you go about preparing yourself on that?
Um, okay, thank you, John, for that question. I think understanding technology, I just might say, is very important. Although during the interview, for example, it's not that much technical. It's more on a behavioral, but showing that you have the technical competency play a big role, because you can easily set you apart from other candidates. On how I learned about networking and Linux, for example, and how I prepare, was through the program, because before that I was mostly focused on AWS services through the console, right? Or Terraform, for example. Uh, I have my server, so I bought a server on by to my recommendation to have a server. If you can have your server and build your own cloud on it, right? Do your own lab on it, so that you can post that on your blog, right? Show that you know about the technology, you're passionate about it, that will set you apart from other candidates. So on this server, I have a VMware EXXi. I provide install on it, and I have some virtual machine, some Linux virtual machine. I don't have Windows virtual machine on it. I only have Linux because it was free, right? But you can have some Linux from Windows on it as well. That's how I was able to get acquainted with Linux and learn more about Linux, because the program have a lot of lab. You can either perform the lab by SSH into my server and do those, or you can buy your own server and do it from my bedroom, like I did. And that's how I learn about the networking, also through the program, the different courses.
And having a server, I got to tell you, I've had them throughout my career. I mean, I actually have 10 24-core servers in my house, some of which are in an OpenStack cloud, some are VMware ESXi servers. And that doesn't even include any of the things that I need to use to operate this business. So yes, having a server in your house is something you'll use. You want to study some networking, you install EVENG on it. Then you get to do some networking, build a cloud, build an Active Directory server, build a bunch of Linux things. Get used to everything, because then you can say you know what it is. Because it's one thing to be able to click a button and install a MySQL database, and it's another thing to set up the server, to build the server, install the operating system, set the memory, set the storage, install the patches, disable unnecessary services, enable it, and then you understand what goes into the data center. Actually, yeah, if you can hit the like button, that would be really great. Mizan Ripon, do you have to be AWS certified to be hired? No. In fact, I have friends that have very senior architecture positions at every cloud provider, and they have no cloud certifications whatsoever. Now, they usually do have a strong networking background, and some have an enterprise architecture background. But no, you don't need to be certified to get hired. You need to be capable to get hired. The reason we use certifications in everything we do, Mezan, is we use certifications to help somebody get a job interview. No hiring manager cares if you're certified or not certified, but if you have a certification, it makes the hiring manager think you might know. And we use those, a specific set of certifications, to get you the interview with the hiring manager. And then after that, it's more about, can you do that job? So the certification is, do you know the name of the service and how to configure it? But we architects never configure anything. In fact, we're all system design, which is totally unrelated to the certification. Now, cloud engineers do what's in the certification. So let's kind of keep that in mind. So when it really comes about is this: build your skills, learn systems architecture, learn the network and the data center, learn how to give extraordinarily good presentations, learn how to do some ROI modeling, focus on your leadership skills, your soft skills, get some really great tech recruiters. We use tech recruiters in our program. We use tech recruiters to get past HR, because if we can put you directly in front of the hiring manager, they can choose to hire you. And by doing that, by using tech recruiters, we can bypass some of these things. So hope I answered your question there. Chris, you want to bring in the next one? VNHG, I've applied multiple times for AWS and haven't heard anything from them. It's very discouraging. VNHG, Yvan did not apply. Yvan reached out to recruiters. VNHG, we tell our students not to apply for jobs directly when they have no experience. And here's the reason. The HR recruiters will instantly kick it out. They won't let anybody through that has no experience for the most part. But if we can find the actual recruiters and we can plead a case to the actual recruiters, and I'll explain to you the recruiting process, will send you directly to the hiring manager. And once you're in front of the hiring manager, you can prove that you're the right person for the job. So here's the process, VNHG. I call, let's say I'm a hiring manager, and I've done this. I've just interviewed 40 people that HR sent me. HR wants 20 years experience and 1,000,001 skills. So now these people, they know Python, they know SysOps, they know DevOps, they know Terraform, they know scripting, but they don't know architecture. But so now these people come up to me and I interview them. I'm saying, not an architect, not an architect, not an architect, not an architect. Now I've just wasted 40 hours that I don't have. So what do I do? The hiring manager, VNHG, I call my favorite recruiters, and I typically call IT Excel in New York City. And I typically call Steve Aracrillian or Christina Moreno. And I say, Christina, I need a cloud architect really bad. I need a really good presenter, a highly emotionally intelligent one with strong technical skills that also knows networking. But most importantly, I'm concerned that they present. Christina says, Mike, I'll get back to you. Christina then looks through her Rolodex and stack of resumes, and she calls somebody like an Yvan, and she calls somebody else. And then she says, Mike, I've got 2 really great people. I've got Yvan Tamba. He's awesome. He's went through some amazing training. He works hard. He's dedicated. You need to meet this guy. He's special. He lacks experience, but Mike, you need to meet him. I'm telling you, you're going to love him. And then they say, I've got this other person. Doesn't have the personality, not the charisma, not the charm, Not as motivated as Yvan, but you know what? They've got 20 years experience in data center networking technologies and 5 years in the cloud. I think you should talk to them too. Then I interview both and I say, okay, I've got the tech guru over here and I've got Yvan. I like Yvan. I'm hiring Yvan. So then what I do is I call HR and I say, I'm hiring Yvan. I'm going to then tell Yvan, fill in the application. He's then going to fill in the application. I'm going to call HR and say, I am hiring Yvan, but I like Yvan so much, I want to pay him 1.3 times the average person due to his emotional intelligence and leadership skills. HR says, fine. They come back with a package. I then call Yvan, tell him he's hired. He says yes, and he starts working. Now, he's going to be happy. 9 months later, Yvan is promoted to senior cloud architect because he did such a good job, and that's what's going to happen. Now, about a year later, he could potentially get an auto rejection email from HR. Sorry, you don't meet the necessary requirements. Please come back when you have more experience, because that's very common. But meanwhile, he's still working there. So the point is, VNHG, we can't use traditional means when you don't have experience. We can't go through HR. Still apply, but we've got to use recruiters. And that's why we have 300 recruiters on that network for you guys. But we also want you to build your own recruiter network. So go out there and start finding recruiters. Polish up those LinkedIn pages, polish up your resume, and go out there and find recruiters. Tell the recruiters how you can be the best cloud architect for their clients. The recruiters get paid $20,000 to $50,000 to find you a job. They want to help you find a job. Leverage people. They get paid to find you a job to do it. It's not only your own journey. VNHG.
Yeah.
Chris, you want to bring in the, Yvan, do you want to say?
Yeah, just to add one more thing to what Mike just said, is that like I did like I say applied, but nothing was moving. So I started reaching to multiple recruiters from internal recruiters from AWS, and that's how, because when I emailed the recruiter the job description, 2 days later I was on the skill assessment test, right? So it just to show that on the HR level they have so many recommendations, and they have those they use some algorithms. So maybe if you don't have 2 or 3 of those requirements, then your resume will never pass the HR. But maybe because they will never take a look at your blog, right? Maybe by taking a look at the blog, they're going to see that, wow, you have the competency for the job, right? But maybe someone, just like Mike said, he has all those Python or all those cloud computer software, all those 20 years or 10 years experience, then you're going to pass the HR. But you're going to be stuck on an interview because it doesn't have that solution architect in him, for example. So by always trying to reach out to a recruiter on LinkedIn, and when you reach out to them, don't go there asking for help, but go there and showing that I have what it takes. I am an Amazonian. You don't know yet, but I am one, right? And I have to work for you. I'm the person that you've been looking for so long. So sell yourself very high, and I think they're going to take a look at your resume.
Right. So it's not like you just applied and and you got discouraged. You got rejected a few times or not responded to a few times, and you kept going. Hire me because of this. Look at me, notice me. So whether they rejected you or not, I'm not saying they did, but the point is everybody's not going to hear back. You got to fight. You got to show them that you're different. You can't be one of 5,000 people, because then what's going to happen is you're leaving it up to the technology systems and their algorithms. Algorithms don't tell you that Yvan studied 8 hours a day for 6 months straight. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you the way he speaks. They don't show you the way he writes. When we just use algorithms, we miss the big picture. That's why in architecture, they've got all these little technology things. AWS has them. They all have them. Auto design your architecture. Auto baseline your systems. You can't use any of that. Anything that's automatically designed doesn't take into account workflow, process redesign, how to change things, the business. It's just arbitrary. It takes the human side. So that's why we need to be human. And that's why keep going, VNHG. Keep going. It takes a while. Chris, you want to bring in the next one? Miss Laman Jaman. Are you a visual learner? What are the visual learning hacks you came across that help you absorb cloud educational material? Well, Miss Laman Jaman, I think you need to hear how he actually did his learning materials. So he talked about listening. Well, Yvan, why don't you tell her how you learned the materials? And that shows that you'll do anything and find any way to learn.
The way I learned the material, I would say I'm a visual learner. a little bit, because I always, like I say, I always trying to take a step back and always look at the big picture, look at where I am right now and where I'm trying to go, right? How I can bring all those pieces together to create a better solution, right? So that did play a big role, and how you come across and how I absorb. I was always taking note. That's something that I found very interesting, because every time Mike would design that, would talk about a problem, right? He would say, okay, today we're talking about this business. This business has this problem, right? I would take note of the business. What issue does the business have, right? Or the spec that they have in the data center. And then when all the classmates are gonna ask questions about, okay, Mike, what type of server are you using? Okay, Mike, how many benefits are you? How do you have? I always take note, right? And then after that, when you start building all the design, I was always taking note, because after that I can go back and look at the questions, the answer that he gave, and then the solution. Because sometimes if you don't take note, you have to go back on the video every time. It becomes very hard. But when you have those on your note, it's easy to really understand what's going on and to really picture that solution and how he was able to come to life. Yeah.
But I want to highlight on two things Yvonne had said earlier. He said that while he was driving back and forth to class for 3 hours per day, he was listening to replays. So even if he's a visual learner, he's using everything. He's listening while he's driving. He's watching in class while he could. Oh, he mentioned one other thing about writing notes. Did you
Yeah.
know that when you write handwritten notes, it activates a part of the brain called the reticular activating system, which helps you remember it? Not so when you type computer
Yeah.
notes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So write your handwritten notes out. It is a very good visual tool, and it reinforces it in your brain. So excellent, excellent, excellent. Chris, bring in the next one. And I love that you did that while driving. Mario Millen. Yvonne, congrats. Were you aware of AWS principles before you had the interviews? If so, did you apply them during the interview?
Mm, Hi, Mario. I won't be able to answer the. I mean, I wasn't aware of the principle. I discovered the principle as I was preparing for the interview. But the principle is something that you have to answer. So because they let you know that all the behavior are based on the principle. I mean, even on the website they have it, right. That's AWS culture. They live through those principles, and every employee, either, I mean, Amazon, the entire thing, Amazon, AWS, everything, you have to implement those on your daily tasks while you work for Amazon. So the principle, I came across those. I was preparing for the interview, and I have to implement those by answering all the behavioral question attached with it.
Yeah, so Mario, I'll give you some guidance on those behavioral principles. So I made a video on those AWS behavioral principles and how to show them you're the right person. Now, I have some really, really, really smart students, and a lot of my students have MBAs and PhDs and lots of master's degrees and 20 years experience in the industry and other industries as well. And my students that had leadership positions said, Mike, thank you. These will work in any company. And the answer is yes. So if you know what those employers are looking for, it's the same for every single company. So if you know how to be a good employee, treat your customers well, be focused on making your customers successful. Don't do the wrong thing to take a short-term win to lose a long-term customer or destroy your name. If things are wrong, take a stand. Don't just cave into the peer pressure. These are principles that apply to every good organization, and all organizations want this. So I made a video on that, but really I should have called the video, but it wouldn't have been as good on search engine optimization. I should have put it, what employers desire and how to get hired. But AWS leadership principles sounds much better on search engine optimization. And they were specifically framed as AWS leadership principles, but they're also get hired and promoted principles. Chris, bring in the next one. Actually, I think it was another one of my young prodigies, Perez the Dev, that noticed it first. Malad, it's so good to see you here, Malad. Thanks a lot, Yvonne, for your information. Is there anything special that you had done to get attraction of HR recruiters? For example, networking or publishing articles on LinkedIn?
Oh, okay. Hi, Millard. I hope I pronounced your name right. Um, so what I did, like I say, we probably didn't, like I say, was to have a blog, right? I have my blog, and then all the lab that I did on my server, and also different stuff like I would take a technology, for example, like CloudFront, and I would describe what is CloudFront, when do you use it, and why would you use CloudFront. So I have all those different stuff on my blog. So what I did is every time I was reaching out to a recruiter, I was this is what I put in the message is that I'm 24 years old. I'm passionate about cloud and data center technologies. Right. I've spent the last year of my life 20 hours a week learning about cloud computing. I am highly energetic, highly motivated, and I am the horse that you can bet on and be assured that you're going to win. Right. Take a look at my work, and I put in the link to my blog. Right. And please let me know what you think about it. I'm very interested to work with you. So that's something I was putting in there every time I was reaching to different recruiter. But also just understand that not all of them will reply, right? But only if only one answer, that's it. You only need one, right? You don't need 10 or 15 to answer. And that's something that I did. So by having my blog, they were able to click on it and go see my work. And my work now talk for me, right? It was able to be like my judge, something like that, to really say, okay, yeah, he knows about the technology, he's passionate about, right? I have 10 posts on my blog. I have 15. I have one post where I wrote like 500 lines or 500 words about cloud computing. That's not many people are going to do that. And also there's one thing at AWS, they want you to be what they call an evangelist, someone going to go out there and talk about AWS, sell
Exactly.
AWS. They want you to write white papers. Even the global high manager of AWS, she constantly write papers. The global high manager of solution architect. So when they see that, you already have it. You don't even work for them, but you're already selling the product, right? You're already talking about Cloudflare. You're already talking about different services that they have. That's something that they want to see in a candidate. Someone who's passionate about the technology, passionate about what they have. So if you have that, that's going to set you apart from other candidates.
And I'm going to second that, my lad. When you write and you can prove you can write, it can really improve your career. I'll give you two examples, Malad. When I was a little young bear and I was a hardcore engineer, I had been an expert on something called IP multicast. Now, there were really only 5 of us in the world that knew it. I was at Riverstone, Bill Williamson was at Cisco, and we all knew each other. And we all collaborated. In any case, periodically, I wrote a paper on introduction to multicast, and nobody understood multicast. That paper caused me to travel 200,000 miles that one year, get 2 promotions to that one company. And if I told you 20 years later, Cisco Systems in their NOC, where they were doing troubleshooting, was using a paper that I wrote 20 years ago at Riverstone Networks to do their diagnostics. That's how much that built my career. Then when I was at Cisco, they decided they wanted to focus on the healthcare industry. And as someone that could practice medicine and had been an architect for years, I was the lead architect. And you know how I built that? I wrote a paper. That one paper got me 3 more promotions. And I'm known worldwide for medical grade architecture because I designed it and presented it to thousands of hospital systems across the globe. So publish something, but make it great. Make it so good that the world sees you as that expert. Now you've got a cloud architect brand. That matters a million times more than any certification in the world. Chris, you can bring in the next one. Chris? It's hard behind the scenes with all this going on. Marla, Chris, now I understand. Mike, can you reiterate the importance of not getting 10x AWS certificates for someone on the call? I almost went down that path, but found your YouTube channel first, then and joined your class. Marla, I'd be honored to talk about that. The most important thing you have in your life is your name, your brand, and your reputation. How you treat others is your brand. What your capabilities are is your brand. Now, what goes into a brand? A brand needs to be known for something. What is Porsche known for? High performance cars. What is Apple known for? Fun and easy to use. What is GE known for? I don't know. I used to know, but you don't know. Now, which is more valuable to you? Can Apple charge more for a computer than GE? Yes. Can Porsche charge more for the same car than a Chevy? Yes. Why? Because they have a focused brand and the world knows it. They know exactly what it is. It's clear. It's not all things to everybody. So if you want to go to a doctor, you want to go to somebody that studied medicine. And if all they did in their life is medicine, you feel good in your heart that they can help you. Now, if during that doctor's years of life, the first thing they did was English literature, and they were good at it. They wrote a couple books on English literature. Then after a few years of that, they studied economics, and they worked as an economist. And then after that, they decided to start a business cleaning houses. They made a lot of money cleaning houses. And then after that, they opened a Greek diner, which is something my family would do, which I've worked in and I love. And then after that, they decided to be a doctor. Now, what do you really think that person is? Do you think they've been, let's say they're 50 years old. Now, do you think they've got 50 years experience or 25 years experience in medicine? No. Or 20 years? You think they've got 5 years of experience in medicine and lots of time as an economist, a house cleaner, and everything else. So what is their brand? It's confused. What is their value? What is their salary? It's down here. Now, by comparison, you had someone that decided to be a neurosurgeon. They're like Yvan. They know exactly what it was, and they're going to focus on it. So he finishes school. He does his 4-year residence, his 4 years of medical school. He does his 3-year residency, and he does a fellowship. So he gets out as the distinguished fellow. He's got a huge name for himself. Now he speaks at conferences on neurosurgery and does neurosurgery and nothing else. He's now spoken in everywhere, and he's now been published in 40 magazines and journals. Which doctor do I go to? The one that did everything else, or to Yvan? I'm going to Yvan because he's going to help me. So that's the reason. You've got to have a brand. If you're an architect, you're a designer. The second you become a sysops person, you're the maintenance person. And designers and maintenance people think differently, and it'll damage your brand. Now, DevOps, our automation, is the most wonderful thing in the world. I love it, and it is a great career. But deploying infrastructure as code and automating software releases is not meeting with the CEO. And what happens is when you have all these tech things, it makes people see you as an engineer, which is great if you want an engineering job. But when you've been an architect, they're going to be looking for an MBA or MBA like business acumen. They're going to be looking for your leadership skills. They're looking for your executive presence, your emotional intelligence. They don't want to see you as Mr. or Mrs. Tech. They want to see you as the person that can transform an organization because your knowledge of tech is good, but your knowledge of the customer and business and customer transformation is better. That's the reason, Marla. Yvan, since you're now hired, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, Mike. I mean, the way you put it was very. I mean, I would say it was perfect. I think I thought about the same thing. When I was, like I said, I took all the certification, and my thought was I thought after getting the professional certification, I would get a job. That was my thought back in the summer. But after getting certified, I was like, I don't feel like I can do this job. Really, I didn't feel like I could do the job, and that's why I decided to join the program. So I think getting the certification kind of say good because they can you can make your resume pass the HR, or they can show to the hiring manager or the recruiter that you have the ability to learn. That's something that a company like AWS are looking. They want people the ability to learn on their own because they grow so fast that they won't have time to babysit you, right? You have to take care of you. So you have to go out there and learn every time because AWS services constantly get updated, right? So you have to learn. That's what certifications show, that you have the ability to learn. But now, having too many certifications also, like you say, can show that maybe you don't really know where you're going, right? Because your brand won't be accurate because you need to have a brand. And what is your brand? What do you want to sell? What do you want people to? Okay, when I look at when I look at Yvan, I'm like, okay, Yvan is good at this thing. I know that this domain is an expert in this domain. So that's something that you want to take into consideration while thinking about getting certified. Because if you have the developer certification, you have solution architect, you have SysOps. I look at it, even for me, I was like, okay, yeah, he can learn, but does he know everything? You know what I mean? And company like AWS, they will never hire someone because they have money. If they hire you, they want you to be in a specific domain, right? Because they don't want you to be pretty much everywhere, because they want to be efficient. And to be efficient, you need to work with people who master the domain, not with people who knows about everything. So that's why I think getting too many certification could play against you.
I was the lead architect for a voice project for one of the world's largest banks, and all they were concerned about was how this voice project would transform their business. What tools would it give the financial advisors to sell more product to their customers? What would enable them to process transactions faster? What would give people information about a customer's risk tolerance? I was a CCIE at the time, but it wasn't in voice. And if I talked about my certifications, they'd be like, Mike, that's great. Now tell me how you can help me. So it's good to show that the materials, and it's good to help you get an interview, but it's really about the job and being able to do it and knowing what is the job. Chris, do you want to bring in the next one? Perez the Dev, one of my students, he's amazing too. Thank you for your time, Yvonne. Curious, at what point do you think you went from training to, okay, I'm ready to apply? Thank you again.
Thank you, Perez. That's a great questions. Because I never felt that I was ready to apply. that's the trick about it. I remember, I think it was probably early October or maybe the end of September. There was Mike has received people from ITSL on his platform, and they were talking about applying for jobs and how you can reach out to recruiter instead of applying directly. And then I think I posed a question about me having not posted all my certification on my LinkedIn profile because I didn't feel like I was ready and I didn't want to post them and have all those people coming at me, maybe asking me to interview, right? But then Brandon was like, no, go ahead and post the certification regardless. Just post them. There's a big deal, right? And I was like, I'm not ready yet. If they come at me, I won't be ready to go for an interview. It's like, just go ahead and post them, and that's what I did. And I think the more you start, and the more I started after the skill assessment test, I was like, wow, so I can do this. Even going into the AWS technical interview, the first one, it was my first technical interview. I've never done any internship. The only interview I did in my life was the interview for a restaurant job. And I remember going into the phone interview, I was like, am I going to get this? I mean, I was kind of preparing myself to take it as an interview experience, right? If I don't get it at the beginning, if I don't get it, yeah, it's fine. I'm going to learn, right? I will be ready for the next one. But then I started thinking about Mike, right? You told me the story where you get your first job, your first IT job on your first interview. I was like, yeah. So Mike did it, right? He got his first job coming from a medical field in his first interview. It means I can do it as well. It doesn't matter. It is AWS, a big company. I've never done any tech interview, and this one is for a big position, but I can do it, right? So I think I started picking up confidence the more I was going through the process of the interview. But was that did I feel ready before applying? No, I wasn't. But the confidence came on as the more I was evolving through the process.
So there's two things I'd like to highlight there. One is the champion mindset, and something else that I'm really proud of. So what I'm really proud of is Brandon, that he mentioned, is another student that's part of my program. And that's really what I'm most proud of in life. I've created a 500-person family that talks to each other every single day and coaches each other. So when I look back on my life, that's probably the best accomplishment I have as a family of cloud architects all over the world. But I also want to say something that's really important. Feelings aren't facts. And a champion, a true champion, will always feel that they're not prepared. So I've interviewed two kinds of people in my life. The people that tell me they're experts, and I say, how long have you worked with something? And they say 3 weeks. And I say, it takes at least 10,000 hours to become an expert. I'm an expert. And when you ask them something about it, they know absolutely zero. And when you're really dealing with somebody that's humble and really knows, have you worked at this? Yes, this is my area of competence. I do know. Are you an expert? I've got moderate knowledge. And then you ask that person about their moderate knowledge, and you find out that they know 10 times more than anybody you've interviewed yet. It's the quiet confidence. So, yes, I'm really, really, really happy that first, somebody else in our family helped encourage you. So Brandon, thank you so much. Brandon's another amazing student of mine. He's a fantastic cloud architect. He's got a great security background. He's also a Marine. So, I can't say enough good things about Brandon, and he does a lot to help us and our students. So Brandon, thank you for helping fellow student. It makes me happy and proud. And, but that's the point, is you did it. Feelings aren't reality. And someone like you will always feel like you need to learn more. So Chris, if you want to bring in the next question. And then I'm going to announce some prizes for you in the end. Some prizes. BDU 2.1. Do you recommend going for a new cloud job as an individual or creating a company for corp to corp? Okay, so Yvonne may be a little young for that one, so I'm going to answer this one. Generally speaking, when you lack experience, it's recommended that you work for a company for a year or two. The reason is you're going to need training, and you might need a lot of it. And when you're an employee, the companies may know you can't do anything for 6 months, and they may send you for 6 months of paid training. And additionally, the expectations are going to be lower when you're a paid employee, and they'll give you the time to learn and develop the skills. And the reality is, for someone that's new, they really can't do a lot of consulting for people until they get some experience and background and lessons learned, develop some contacts with other architects in the industry experts, executives, etc. So, better to be working for somebody else until you have that Rolodex, contacts list, etc. Now, when you actually work for these companies, it depends. So if you're someone like me that's been known in the industry forever, and you're looking for these $600 an hour contracts for like 2 months because you want to work 16 hours a day for 2 months and then go to Greece and visit your family for the rest of the year, then, corp to corp is good. But realize that these jobs, if you're focusing on the leadership skills and you're focusing on the executive presence and you're really working on the presentation skills and the executive communication skills and these high value skills, reality is you're going to earn more long-term by being an employee of one of these companies, because the difference between that $150,000 architect and that $350,000 architect is all soft skills and leadership skills. So people go corp to corp because they're trying to get $10, $20 more per hour. I'm saying don't worry about $10 or $20 more per hour. Worry about those business skills, those leadership skills, those emotional intelligence skills, those skills that get you an extra $100 an hour. So in that way, you don't really need to go corp to corp. So corp to corp is good if you've got an expert in one thing. Maybe you are the cloud network expert. You have a CCIE, you've been working for Cisco for 20 years, and you're Mr. Cloud or Mrs. Cloud networking expert. Sure, that's a great place to go corp to corp because you're now a hired gun with an extremely valuable $600, $800 an hour skill set. But for the rest of the architects, probably better to work for somebody. Daniel Pike. What a good question from another fellow student. When you recorded yourself practicing interview questions, how did you know what needed tweaking in your presentation? How did you ensure confidence in every answer?
Thank you, Daniel. That's a good question. One of the things is I was always one of the person that I used to prepare also for the interview. I watch a lot of video from Jeff Bezos when he's had like different it was different on a different talk show and how he would present himself, how he will talk, how he will have the gesture, right? And I also watch a lot of video from kind of a different type of executive, right, on YouTube, how they present themselves, right? So when I was presenting, when I was recording myself, I'm looking at myself. I know where it's wrong. I know maybe here I'm talking maybe too fast. Maybe here I'm not pronouncing maybe the word right. Maybe I don't have a lot of energy in the video, because when I look at myself, I need to feel something. I need to be able to buy whatever product I'm selling in that video. Because if I'm not able to buy that product, then nobody else will be able to buy it. Because the first consumer for my product is me. If I can buy my own product, no one else will. So that was something, that's the different metric that I use to see how I have to either tweak the presentation, or how I have to improve myself through all the recording. At the end of the day, you have to be able to put, I don't know, if the product is only $10, right? Whatever you're selling in that video, if you're able to take $20 and put on that product, say, okay, if someone sell me this product, I will buy it for $20. Then you can go out and start maybe start with interview or job. But if you can't buy your own product, I mean, there's something wrong in there, and then you have to fix it.
Wow, he highlighted on some major innovation concepts. They used to call it eat your own dog food. That's when we all called a spade a spade. Then what ultimately happened in life, people started to get the concept that we're going to make everything sound really cool and fun, and they called it Sip Your Own Champagne. And what that meant was, and really great technology companies like Cisco do this. Cisco, say it's got 80,000 people. It takes a pretty big network to support 80,000 people. So Cisco would build the network for its employees with all of the own Cisco stuff. And that way they could find out where it would break. So we would always use our own products to know where it would break, so we could always deliver best things for customers. Now, I know another major computing company that had a cloud, and they ran it on somebody else's servers. Now, that's generally not good if you can't run your cloud on your own tech. So, that says something. So really great companies with really great quality, so they use that eat your own dog food. That's what you did. You recorded yourself to see when you would be willing to hire you. You're young, you're innovative, you're super smart, following the technology practices of the world's best technology companies. And all best technology companies do that. They run on their own stuff. Because if they break it, they know their customers are not going to be happy. So they fix it and they run it to their own stuff first. So love that. Great advice for anybody. Again, more wisdom from the 35-year-old, 24-year-old Yvan. Chris, do we have more questions? Marla, so glad you learned the need to focus my efforts and looked focused when presenting myself. And Marla, I saw you give some presentations very recently, and they were really, really awesome. Chris, you want to bring in the next one? B2.1, appreciate the information, Mike. Always a wealth of information. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Cloud hired Nimit. I absolutely, absolutely love that. So let me give you guys a surprise. I think it's the week of January 4th, we're going to do a completely free AWS Live Certified Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp. It'll be live every day. You'll be able to ask questions, interact, because we want you to have that live bootcamp experience. We know that when you really take a live bootcamp, they get really, really, really expensive. And we know the $4,000 or $5,000 for a week's live bootcamp is infeasible for most people. So guess what? We're just going to do it free. We're going to do it in the first week in January. And in the end of January, we're going to give you guys some really good network training too. Network training is pretty important for the cloud architect. Why? The cloud is just a virtualized network in a data center that's virtualized. And some really amazing people from my team. Ivo Doikio is one of them. Alonzo Coleman's another one. Another really great cloud architect, Lemon's another one, have been working with me to create a comprehensive networking training program. So I look forward to doing that when it's completely ready. So we're going to give you guys a lot. So please subscribe, hit the bell, and tell your friends. When the link, there's already a link on LinkedIn to sign up for that. So Chris from my team, if you can find a way to post that LinkedIn link or those registration links to the free ebook that everybody should know about. And I'm going to mention the free ebook again. Our team has gotten together, about 40 of my amazing people that were part of Go Cloud Architects. We've gotten together and we've written a new version of the Certified Solution Architect Professional book. We started from day zero. So you could use it for the Cloud Practitioner, Certified Solution Architect Associate, and professional exams. We see no point in doing it 3 times. We want to give you the deep knowledge from the beginning, but we're going to start it with fundamentals and build you good fundamentals. It's completely free. I'll leave the link for you below. And when we post the networking training, which is coming soon, we'll post a link for that, and that's going to be really, really special. So, make sure you get signed up for that. Okay, so letting everybody know, we have a lot of interview videos on how to interview for free on this channel. And also, I'm going to ask Chris to post a link next Thursday. It's Thursday, right? Where we're going to do our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinars.
Thank you, Jamal.
Jamal, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Jamal, we're happy to be here, and thanks so much, Jamal. Okay, so please join us on the free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar We'll talk about how to get a cloud job with no experience. We'll talk about what employers are designing. We'll talk about exactly the things you need to know, how to interview, for example, things that you can tweak in interview, especially when you're stuck, to get hired. We'll give you tips in your cloud career, because really we're all about cloud architect job training. My whole goal in the world is just to get you guys cloud hired. I know what it was like when I started my cloud architecture career. I know what it was like when I started my networking career. It all starts with what is the cloud architect, and then mastering those skills, learning how to become exactly what the employers want. Because guess what? When you go to the store and buy something, you buy what you want. So you know what? We make you exactly what the employers want. Not only do they want you more, they're willing to pay you a lot more. So go out there and get cloud hired. Robert Welch, thank you so much. So appreciate Marjan.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you over there in Amsterdam. Pierre, you're welcome, and thanks so much for you over there in Canada. And actually tell us where all you're at. Nemeth, hello, Mike. Thanks again. Jim Q, this is really great. Thanks so much. I see Miss Lamin Javan, loving my cloud family. Wonderful. We love you and we love it. And I know exactly who you are with that name. Thank you so much, Miss Lamin Javan. Love that.
Thank you, Chigo.
Daniel Pike, thank you so much. Robert Welch is out there in Dallas, Texas. You're relatively close. Daniel Pike is tuning in today from Texas. That's pretty interesting. Mario Millen, I see, is in Bethesda. I have a feeling we've got a lot of people from a lot of places. Looking forward to the next sessions, Nimit, definitely. So absolutely. Trying to figure where you guys are at. I have a feeling we've got people in a couple of different continents right now. At least I know we did earlier.
Okay, Mike, you didn't say when the webinar is next Thursday. It's Thursday.
Yeah, I actually asked you what time it was to how to get your first cloud architect job webinar.
Yes, and I've been trying to get you to say it, so that's why I was.
Yeah, what time is it?
Thursday at 11.
Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 4 p.m. GMT. Pike, thank you, Mike, Chris, and Yvonne, for your time today and valuable information. You're so welcome. Robert, Dallas, fantastic. I love where everybody's coming from.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Mario.
Ivadoikia, thank you so much, Ivadoikia. Roberta Cloudistician, Mike, before your journey program, your career was in limbo, and now you see the light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you. Roberta, we're so happy to hear that. Carlito Way, thanks, Mike, Chris, and Yvonne. Dan DTM, Chicago is here. That's great. Perez the Dev, thank you both from Las Vegas. Nimit, my name is Parwan in UK, but from India. Love that. Ivadoikia is in Denmark. From Bulgaria, I think. VNHG is in Miami. You're close. I'm over there in Port St. Lucie, Florida right now. And we've got UK. Patience. Thanks, Yvonne, for sharing your experience and great history. Mike, thanks for the great job you and your team at Go Cloud Architects are doing. Thank you so much, Patience. Ogar, happy to be here from the UK. That's great. Marzan's in Amsterdam.
And I will be the big bad wolf. You got some people trying to say we got no class next week. It's like,
no, nobody's getting off that easy. We will definitely hold class on Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll have class Tuesday.
Jamal's, wow, he's in Germany, but he's from Syria. I mean, this is just great. I know Malad is Persian that was in Germany right now. Munoz in Baltimore. This is so wonderful. Isn't this great that we're all from so many places?
New Jersey.
You're from Srinivas, New Jersey. I lived in Princeton, New Jersey there for a long time. Actually liked it.
All right.
But not the winters.
So just to reiterate, what are the things that we've got coming up? We've got our book coming out soon,
Yes.
and
We've got the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate. And is there anything else that we're going to announce?
So we've got the Certified Solution Architect Associate Boot Camp for free. January 4th is the first day.
Yes.
And then at the end of January, we'll be doing the networking, as you said.
Yes.
We don't have the set dates yet.
Okay. Well, now you know what's going on behind the scenes from the person that knows when I can actually do the things I'd like to do.
And then we've got some other things that we're not quite ready to announce.
Okay.
But there's a lot of work going on.
There's lots of exciting things coming from Go Cloud Architecture. You're going to see and hear about us from a lot of different places. It's going to be fun. So thank you all for spending some time. Miami's another person I think is really great. Yvan, thank you for sharing your experiences with others. I wanted people to know, no matter what, you can do it. Now, you're very special. You've got an incredible career ahead of you. You're a future CTO, unless I steal you back somehow in this company, which, you know, I might desire to do at some point in the future, because you can never run out of great people that are hardworking with innovation-focused people like you. So one day I might need to steal you. But in the meantime, go build your career at Amazon and learn some great lessons and do that MBA. And wow, I'm so excited for you.
Thank you very much.
I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. And thank you for creating this amazing community. I think you did a great job, and I'm just a kind of a result of your hard work and of your input. So thank you very much as well. And thank you to everybody that tuned in today to watch us to listen to my story. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you to Chris as well. Thank you. You did an amazing job. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you to Chris for everything. So, you know, I may have big dreams, but someone has to help me make those dreams possible. And that's Chris. And not only can Chris do that, Chris can tell me what's going to work and not work. He's behind the scenes making this work. So Chris is, you know, 50% of this team in every way, shape, or the form. So Chris, thank you for everything you've done today and constantly.
Yeah, we all know I don't like to be on camera. So.
We know that, but, you know, like I said, some people like to be customer facing and front end. Some people do their magic behind the scenes. And it doesn't really matter as long as we find the place. As architects, you're going to be out there in public. And as engineers, you're behind the scenes. People that like to be behind the scenes love those analytical engineering type positions, accounting positions. They're really great. Those of us like those architecture or finance or consulting or sales positions gravitate towards those. Doesn't matter. They're all great. It's just what makes us happy. That's really the key for me, is what makes us happy. So with that, go out there and get your best cloud computing job, whether it's a cloud architect job, solution architect job, enterprise architect job. Let us know how we can help you along the way. And we look forward to seeing you on another day. Take care, everyone.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.